I'm Yvette Mayo, the founder and CEO of Power on Heels Fund Incorporated. At Power on Heels Fund Incorporated, we are creating a movement of powerful Latinas who are using their voice to become their own best advocate when dealing with gender pay gap. Since 2018, we have made a commitment to provide programs that will enhance every Latina's ability to lead at a higher level, to create meaningful connections with others, and master their financial future. 2022 has provided so many amazing opportunities. We continue to grow our scholarship program through our Latina Power Purse program. By completing this program, Latinas are eligible to apply for our Power on Heels scholarship. This year, we're happy to award $15,000 in scholarships.
And this was my first time experiencing the Power on Heels program. I'm so honored to be part of it and hopefully recruit new members in the future to experience what I experienced today.
Earlier this year, we launched our Latina Power Academy with a special grant from our friends at Centerpoint Energy. Our first program offered was a 4-part series called the Latina Building Wealth Series with our financial literacy partner Chase, who leads us through managing daily finance, credit, business financing, wealth building tools, and home ownership.
Hi, my name is Melissa Vela. I'm a community manager for JP Morgan Chase. Partnering with Power on Heels is so important to us because this is how we make an impact in our communities at a local level.
In July, we were hosted by our partners, University of Houston Downtown, the Maryland Davies College of Business, where we unveiled our first leadership program, Elevate the Powerful Leader Within. 7 important topics led by 7 powerful Latina leaders. The program was designed to be engaging and interactive. We were able to allow Latinas to attend for free from a special grant from our friends at Buchanan's. During the session, participants were treated to a very special visit from special guests: Texas State Representative Cara Alvarado, U.S. Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia, and 2 members of the British Parliament.
And I am so energized to be here with Power on Heels, with all these beautiful, smart Latinas. Myself and others have inspired them to want to do more, to do better.
I just want to tell you, it's been a great day today with Power on Heels. It's really all about encouraging young women to shoot for the stars, to set goals, and to strive to do better. So whether you wear heels or tennis shoes, we're with you. We're here to encourage you, to empower you, and everybody can be a success.
I'm delighted to be here in Houston, Texas, supporting the Power on Heels event. I'm in a room full of powerful Latina women, and I am delighted to be here. It is so important that we collectively work together to challenge the gender pay gap, because it does not make sense that powerful women are paid less.
I think it's really important that people should be paid equally for the work that they do. And it's important that we have a pay gender gap which must be filled. And women must be allowed to earn and have the right to earn the amount of work they do.
In October, we held our Latina Business Mentor Circles, aligning Latina business owners and startups with resources and tools to help them elevate their business. With your help, we have been successful in the last 4 years in raising over $50,000 for our scholarship fund that allow Latinas of all ages to continue their education, improve their career goals, and help business owners be successful. Please donate today. A big thank you to our amazing partners and sponsors for your support of our mission.
Yes, we are. Latinas.
All right. If caffeine didn't wake you up, little Beyonce woke you up. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. For everybody who had something to do with it, we did it. We got here. So thank all of you. I'm Yvette Mayo. I'm the founder and CEO of Power on Heels Fund. This is our 4th year. This is our 4th annual Power on Heels Conference and Scholarship Awards. We work all year to get to this point because of the impact it creates in our community. Everything we do is because of you.
La Mujer Latina. So thank you for being here. A round of applause for all of you. And I gotta give you credit. It's a rainy day, right? It's a holiday, you're probably off. And the choice was to stay home and show up, and here you are. And I hope that this day inspires you to do something. I want you to remember this. Greatness comes when you can inspire others to be their best. And everyone that's gonna be here on this stage today is gonna help you become your best. Every program that Power on Heels puts together is about you, about building you up and helping you become your best advocate. And if you've been to a Power on Heels program, there's a lot of emotions. I don't think we get through a program without somebody crying, and it's not me. It's so important to know that because this is where you belong. We're not an organization, we're a movement. Latinas are coming together to use their voice and use their power. So I want to thank you for wanting to power up with all of us today. Now, what's so interesting is that we can't do what we do without our partners. We are here because the University of Houston, downtown, the Maryland Davies College of Business, and other partners made programs like this happen. So I want to thank our title sponsors right now, Texas Capital Bank, thank you. Our friends at Goya Care. And then University of Houston downtown and the Maryland Davies College of Business. But I want to kind of tell you something really quick, and I'm going way off script. But one of the things that we have to remember is that when people come looking for you, you know you're doing something right. And this year is our 4th year. As an organization, we received grants from Deloitte, our friends at Centerpoint Energy, at Wells Fargo, and an unsolicited donation from Arnold Ventures, which was one of the largest philanthropists in the city, sent us money. Why? Why? Because they know we're doing something powerful. There's young ladies in here, we're changing their lives today. 15 women will receive a scholarship to either continue their education, power up their career path, or grow their business. 15 women of a variety of Latina heritage, Cubana, Colombiana, Ecuadorian, Mexicana, right? They range from the age from 18 to 50, something. So I want you to know that everything that's been done here and throughout the day is putting you in front of women who lead and influence at a high level, just like you do. And if you don't believe you can, know you will, and you will be inspired by the women here. Remember the quote that I said, greatness is inspiring someone to be their best. So don't let them down. Become better. Now, what's so crazy about all of this is that as our theme is Latinas Main Street Takeover, we're on one main. We're right here at the heart of Houston, Texas, the 4th largest city in the country, powering up together, como hermanas, because juntas somos mejor. And for you non-Spanish speaking people in the room, together we are better, all right? What's also important is that one of the underlying themes you're going to hear throughout the day is be disruptive. See, when we hear be disruptive, people think that you're causing trouble, and we do most of the time, but not all the time. But when I say this to you is I want it to have a different meaning from now on. I want you to think of it as a positive. And when somebody uses it to describe you, this is your definition of be disruptive. I'm showing people a new way of getting things done. So when somebody tells you that, turn it around. And why is that important? Because listen, look at me. I'm 60 years old. All right, head back. I'm wearing a sequence dress at 9 a.m. I am wearing metallic shoes, all right? I'm being disruptive, and I'm okay with that. And what we want you to think is, It's time to redefine standards, roles, all right? Thoughts and ideas and how others feel you should be hanging or doing and whatever the case may be. Being disruptive is being who you authentically are. You'll hear that, you'll see it outside, you'll see it on our t-shirts. But most importantly, you will hear about it. And one thing that's really important, if you can see it, you can be it, all right? Before I introduce our president this morning, I just want to thank, is Evangelina and Gabby in the room? They're way up top, everybody look up there, wave at them. What's so important about this is that this group of 2 volunteers at the university were able to get various students to join us this morning from the IBA International Business Association, the ALPHA, which is the Association of Latino Professionals for America, FMA, the Financial Management Association, and the PAS, the Professional Accounting Students. So if you see a student here, encourage them. Think about you, the young 19 or 20-year-old. What if somebody spoke power into you back then? ¿Dónde? Where would we be? So when you see these fabulous students who are volunteer, please stop them and just pour into them. So with that said, I just want to remind you we're here at the university and we have the opportunity to change and the lives of everybody in this room. But there's people here in this room who are here every day making a difference each and every day. So I'd like to invite to the stage the president of the campus to do a quick welcome for us, Dr. Lauren Blanchard.
Well, good morning to all of you. I have to tell you that if you're not already inspired by Ms. Mayo and her introduction to the University of Houston downtown, then you must be numb. I'm grateful for the fact that we're able to host this event. It was my first time meeting Ms. Mayo earlier this morning, and she came in and asked me if I wanted coffee and wanted to make sure that I knew where I'd be seated. I'll say, well, whose place is this, you know? There you go. No, I love every moment of it, without a doubt. So I'm Lauren Blanchard. It's my unique opportunity and pleasure to welcome all of you here to the 4th annual Power on Heels Incorporated. It's more than just a conference. It's also an opportunity to get our students connected with all of you as women of power, Latina women of power, and then also recognizing as well that what you do and the mission of Power on Heels aligns so beautifully with what we do here at the University of Houston downtown. So just a little brief bit of information I think is going to be important for you to know. First of all, that we are recognized not only as a minority serving institution, but we're also a Hispanic serving institution. And the 50% of our students, which translates into 7,000 of our 14,000 students, are Hispanic students. And even more, the vast majority of that amount are Latinas. They choose UHD not only because of the fact that we know that this is a place that when we talk about the accrual of a degree from the University of Houston downtown, we believe it to be a degree of value. One that ensures that students have the knowledge, the skills, and the dispositions that empower them to go on into graduate or professional school or go on into the workforce, but also, and most importantly, to become leaders in their fields and leaders in their communities. And who's rising up here at University of Houston downtown? Who's actually taking over 1 Main Street here at University of Houston downtown? Are our Latina students. And I'm really proud of that. We have more Latina students graduating from the University of Houston downtown than we have any other gender or race ethnicity. And that more importantly, certainly through our strong connections with your partner, the business school here at Maryland Davis School of Business, that we've got many of those students who are going on directly, the Latina students, either into the workforce, or I can't even begin to tell you how many of them are moving directly directly into becoming entrepreneurs. And so it really is so important in terms of understanding your environment, that what you stand for and all the work that you are achieving, Ms. Mayo, that it really emanates in beautifully here and resonates beautifully here at the University of Houston downtown. So, you know, what's interesting is that one of the big pieces that we're working on here is to ensure that we are able to empower our students to achieve greater socioeconomic mobility. And what that simply means is that so many of our students, much like myself, where our parents were at one economic level when we were growing up, and for me, it was a low economic level, but that my parents understood the power of higher education. They themselves had not attended college, but they knew that a college degree would become that anchor to ensure that our lives, my sister and mine, that our lives would be better than theirs. And so they made major sacrifices to ensure that in doing that, that we would rise above the economic level of theirs. The same holds true for today. So many parents who are making sacrifices, especially from the Latina as well as the Hispanic populations of students that we serve, they're making great sacrifices to ensure that students, particularly our Latina students, are going to actually rise and that they're going to be at a much higher economic level than their families. So what we're doing specifically here is that I'm proud of the fact that within the nation, we are within the top 10% of universities that have a high socioeconomic mobility index, and that we're now striving to be within the top 2%, which means that we would be 31 in the nation in terms of socioeconomic mobility universities, and that we would be number 3 in the state of Texas. And who's leading that charge to make sure that that happens? That every time a group of students graduate from this university, many of them who come from lower economic means, that they are automatically going into powerful jobs, going into leadership roles all throughout the state of Texas and certainly all throughout the city of Houston, are our Latina women. And I can't tell you just how beautiful it is to see that they are not only in moving into these roles, but they're becoming leaders for this city and for this state. So again, that statement, Latina taking over, we welcome it. We love it. We're so happy that you are here because it continues to even empower us even further to ensure that we're able to do exactly what your organization is laid out to do, and that is ensuring that there's individual growth, that you're increasing financial mastery, that you're optimizing talents, and you're strengthening leaders. I can't tell you how that just dovetails beautifully with what we do here at the University of Houston downtown. So you're in the right place today. I'm clear about that. You're in the right place. I'll lastly say that for those of you who this is your first visit to the University of Houston downtown, it's interesting because I know a lot of people will pass us on the interstate and they'll glance at us and say, oh yeah, that's University of Houston. And I always say, don't forget downtown, because we are independent from the University of Houston. Yes, we're under the same umbrella, but we're a different university than the University of Houston, and we're proud of that fact. And I'll just say that, you know, for me, that we appreciate your partnership between the Power on Heels and the University of Houston downtown, and more importantly with the Maryland Davies College of Business, because we look forward to many more opportunities to continue partnering with you. This isn't your first time, as I well know. This is going to be one of many more, and that more importantly, we're looking to ensure that our students will flourish in their careers and in their communities, that our Latinas will provide the leadership necessary for a brighter and more sustainable future, not only here in this city and state, but in the nation. That's what we do, and that's the power that we bring to our Latina students. And we can't thank you enough for choosing us, and that more importantly, we can't thank you enough for being here today. Sure. Oh, sure. one quick thing as well, that you just mentioned that you were 60 years old. I'm actually 60 years old as well, and I need to drink from the fountain of youth.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Before we introduce Christine, thank you so much. Another round of applause for President Blanchard. Thank you. I just want to take a quick liberty real quick. Can I have our board to stand, please? I want you to meet the center of Power on Heels. These people here. Look at them. All right, the good-looking one, he's mine. Okay? All right. But please, if you see these people throughout the day, stop them, ask them. Tell them, how do you want to get involved? What is it to be a board member? Expectations, how to become a member? How can you be a volunteer? These people are the people who can help you do that. But from me to you, muchas gracias. Thank you. All right, we're going to keep going with our program because we've got a lot of good stuff for you, but I want to introduce the young lady who will be continuing to introduce the various different panels. That's Dr. Christina Polinsky, who is part of she's an assistant dean at the University of Houston Downtown Maryland College of Business. But she's not only this amazing doctor, because I always call her Dr. Christine, but she's become a great supporter, she's a great connector, and she's become a great friend and supporter of Power on Heels. So you guys, if you have a chance, ladies, if you have a chance, please stop her and just ask her what she does. This woman does so much for this community, but I want to thank her for being part of ours. So Dr. Christine.
Thank you so much for those very kind words, Yvette, and I'm learning so much from you and your wonderful board. So good morning, everyone. So as Yvette mentioned, I'm Dr. Christine Polinsky-Gaona. I'm an assistant dean here at the Maryland Davies College of Business. I have the pleasure this morning of announcing your panelists. There are 3 panels, each led by a powerful Latina moderator, accompanied by powerful Latina panelists. All are leaders and influencers in our community and across several industries. The first panel is Latinas in Community and Civic Engagement. I would like to invite Gloria Luna Bounds, our moderator for this panel, and all the amazing panelists to take their seats on the stage, please.
Good morning, everyone. It's so lovely to see everyone. I am Gloria Luna Bounds, and I'm a manager in community relations for CenterPoint Energy. We're a proud sponsor today, and we've been a proud sponsor of Power on Heels for a couple of years now. Previous award recipient. I'm just very proud of Yvette for all of the work that she's doing with this organization, and we're really happy for all of you to be here. I'm also proud to be serving as a moderator today of this distinguished panel of amazing Latinas and these Latina leaders. We're all here because we work together, we collaborate with others, and on behalf of our respective organizations, we address issues that affect the well-being of others and our community. And we're working to address issues of public concern. So I've got these beautiful ladies, and I'd like them to each introduce themselves. And I will ask each of them to introduce themselves and to give their titles. And you'll find their full bio when you scan the QR code that you were given at registration. You can find their full bios in there. But I'll have them introduce themselves with their name, their title, and their heritage today. And then we'll proceed with the panel. I'll turn it over to Cynthia first.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Cynthia Nunez Colbert. I am the CEO of Catholic Charities and very blessed to be so. I want to let you all know that I'm also an adjunct professor here in the University of Houston Downtown's nonprofit management graduate program. So if you're thinking about a nonprofit career, look into that degree program. It's wonderful. If you haven't done your family genealogy, I'd encourage you to do so. My grandmother, my abuelita, would tell me stories. Then when they all passed, I did my genealogy. My great-grandparents and grandparents came from Sinaloa, Mexico, on my grandma's side. So that's my heritage and proud of it.
We'll share this one. Hi, Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Adrienne Holloway. I am the Executive Director of the Harris County Community Services Department. And I'm glad that you've mentioned that in terms of genealogy, because my parents passed away when I was relatively young, as a young adult. So there were a lot of questions that I didn't ask. I figured I had more time to find out more about my heritage. So I resorted to Ancestry.com, because I didn't have really a deep family tree either, to find out a little bit more. And I'm Puerto Rican. Both my parents were born in Puerto Rico. And I didn't know how, oh, hey. Hey. But I didn't know how deep that was. And I've done my research on my Puerto Rican culture, so I'd love to share that more with folks, because I think that not many people know what comprises that Puerto Rican culture, and it's very rich and diverse. But I had to go way, way back in the generations to see if there was anyone who wasn't Puerto Rican. So eventually I got even to the early 1800s, and I found one person who was from Spain. So I was like, okay, well, I got some pure Spanish blood somewhere, but the rest was really Puerto Rican. It was really proud to be that. So I'm so honored to be here with you. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Tanya, who invited me, and Yvette for allowing me to join this panel, and I look forward to sharing some more information later.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Maria Montes. I'm a native Houstonian, graduate of the UHD Maryland Davis School of Business. Yay! Thank you. My dad is from Zaragoza, Coahuila, and my mom is from Tamaulipas. And I am, thank you, yay! And I am bilingual in part because of my parents constantly telling me you have to learn, you have to know both languages. I am the Director of Boards and Commissions for Harris County. And so I work on board appointments. And happy to be here. Thank you, Yvette and Tanya.
Thank y'all for being here. As you can see, I'm a little bit uncomfortable because I'm not the tallest of anybody in this room. And I always have an issue that my feet have to touch the ground. So if I look awkward, then this is why. My name is Patricia Cantu. I'm an Assistant Chief with the Houston Police Department. I'm right now with the Houston Police Department. I'm the highest ranking Latina in the department. Thank you. Thank you. And I'm also a U of H downtown grad. And like the guy said earlier, everybody always thinks U of H and people forget that downtown. Well, I never knew the mascot, and I used to say, I'm a cougar. And they would take it the wrong way, so now at least now I can clean it up. And it's, thinking I'm hitting on these younger guys, and that's what's not the case. It's, I'm a gator, so now I'm a gator. Oh, look, the chop, right? All right, so I got a better mascot. So I'm down with that. So my heritage comes from Mexico, Cadereyta, Nuevo León, from my dad's side, and they always call it the de los locos. I don't know why. Like, here I am in this profession. I grew up in the East End. My mom is from Bronzeville, and I was raised and bred Magnolia, East End, very close to my family. We always lived with the grandmother, the typical older culture. And we say that, but now I'm a grandmother of 5, and I'm doing the same thing. I live with my daughter and her husband and my 5 grandkids, and I love it, and it's taking me back in time, and I just want them to have the same memories that I had.
Okay. These ladies are so amazing. I'd like to start off with Cynthia, asking a question, a kind of a two-parted question. What motivated you to step into a leadership role, and was there a specific event in your life that led you to make that choice?
Well, let's start with the deepest question ever. No, no. So, I think that leadership is not a title. Leadership is who you are. And it's the qualities of being able to see a situation and engage and empower others to move forward to make a difference. Solving a problem, starting something new, growing an organization. All of these are leadership opportunities. And when I think about opportunities in my life, there wasn't any one time that I said, this is the thing. And I will say, taking leadership roles means taking a risk. Sometimes you step out with a little bit of faith. Wow, I've never done that. I've never led a committee. I've never been a CEO of a nonprofit. And if somebody had said to me, I'm first gen college graduate in my family, And if someone had said, because I could remember my dad saying, Mija, why do you want to go to college? You're going to get married and stay home and have children. I said, oh, Papa, so let's talk. And here, so if that girl had, if you'd said to her, someday you're going to be the CEO of one of the largest nonprofits in the 4th largest, most diverse city in the country, I would have said, no, not me. But it's a series of decisions over my life where opportunities were presented, or maybe I created them, and you take a risk, you believe in yourself, and when you fall down, you just pick yourself right up. And so leadership today means take a lot of other steps that I didn't know where it would go or how it would turn out. You know, Maya Angelou has, where one of them says, you know, when you take a step, you don't have to see the whole staircase. You just take the first step. And what I would share with you is that leadership in your life, maybe it's a job, right? The title, you're the boss of somebody else or a group. Or maybe it is a role in the community, right? Leading a county commission, the city council, running for office, whatever leadership opportunity you have, it'll come to you in steps, and having the faith and bringing the right people around you to be your support team and your mentors, and learning all along the way. But it starts with your desire, your heart to make a difference. And that's where I think leaders start and leaders end, wanting to make a difference.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. You mentioned boards and volunteering and opportunities. I'm going to bounce it over to Maria. And as she leads the Harris County boards and formerly led the city boards and commissions, what motivated you to step into that role? And were there any instances in your life that caused you to make that choice?
So I think, like Cynthia, there's a lot of decisions that led to where I am today. And I was sharing earlier with some of them about, you know, my parents don't have college degrees. My dad speaks and can understand English, but he's not comfortable speaking it. And so I've seen how hard they've worked, and that has inspired me to do better for myself, to do better for the next generation, and to also try to encourage other younger Latinas, right? That hard work and taking on opportunities, sometimes opportunities that you're not sure if you're gonna make it or if you're gonna be good at it, but you still step into those roles and you put your best effort. I think that's what has led to where I am today. I was working sort of in the political space for a while, and then I said, I don't think I wanna do this. And I went and worked in the real estate industry. And then I got a call about working for Mayor Turner. And I said, well, let me, you know, always listen to opportunities at least, right? And so I learned more about the role and stepped into the role. And I'm not kidding when I say that when I interviewed Mayor Turner, my heart was pounding so hard that I could hear it and feel it. I was so nervous. And at the end of that meeting, he said, okay, welcome to the team. And I never imagined, right, this little girl growing up in East Extension, you know, Northeast Houston, that I'd be working for the mayor of the 4th largest city in the US. But I took on that role, and I thought about that saying, you know, sink or swim. And I was determined not to sink. And same thing with the county. When this position came open, I applied, and it was an opportunity that I could not say no to, because the county has never had this Office of Boards and Commissions. So I get to come in and set it up the way that I think is best and advocate for Latinas, for young women, for truly diversity from all walks of life, to be able to have a seat at the table, to be able to determine how county money is spent in our communities, right? And so that is my message for all of you in terms of taking opportunities and stepping into roles that maybe you're not fully comfortable in, but giving it your best.
Thank you, Maria. And speaking of Mayor Turner, I'll ask Assistant Chief Cantu. You're the highest ranking Latina in the Houston Police Department, the 5th largest police municipality in the nation. What motivated you to step into that leadership role, and were there specific instances in your life that led you to that?
Well, in all honesty, I never thought this was going to be a profession for me. I came from a background with family violence. I grew up with that in my house. My uncle was in prison, so I spent a lot of weekends going to TDC to visit. My dad was in prison. So I saw a lot of stuff that was around me in high school, and never in my wildest dreams did I ever think I was going to be a policeman. Because you know, when they do raids at your house and people come to your house and they're not very nice at the time, that's not something that I thought I would be accepted into. I got pregnant at a young age. I was coming here to U of H downtown. I had to drop out. The sheriff's department was hiring, and somebody said, just apply. And I was like, okay. So I said, I don't think they're going to take me. I applied. They hired me, and I was like, what? I said, sure. And then I said, all right, I got mid. They missed something, I'm okay with it. And so from then on, I learned, you know, I worked in the jail. I treated people the way I wanted to be treated, because I always remember my dad was here, my uncle was here, and, you know, other family members were here. And I was like, you know, I don't want to ever disrespect or mistreat people. So coming from that, really, like I said, this was like, I just fell into it. And from then on, I got into the community, and this is what I loved. I wanted to make sure that when I was in the community, that I provided a service and I was kind to the people in the community, unlike some of the officers that used to come to my house. I wanted to change the narrative. I wanted to make sure I was a leader. I always tell people, you know, Chief Acevedo was always saying, you're not politically correct. You're not politically correct. You don't say the right things. You don't do.
So you were being disruptive, is what you said?
I'm very disruptive, apparently. Okay, but one thing I can say is I'm true to myself. I'm honest. I'm not going to tell people something that I'm not going to do. If I'm not going to do it, I'm not going to say I'm going to do it. I'm honest. I may not say it in the way that he wants me to say it or whatever. I try to be very cautious of how I speak, because I don't ever want to hurt people's feelings. I don't want to ever make them feel ugly and worthless like some people make me feel. I don't ever want to do that. So to be disruptive for me is to be productive as long as I'm constructive, right? So here for me, this position in the leadership, I kept going because sometimes people got used to the norm of, oh, well, this is how we do it. This is how we do it. Well, for me, if it's not getting done the way I need it to get done, meaning making a difference in somebody's life, the community primarily, then that's why I kept promoting. Because every time I got to, I was like, God, I get tired of these stupid sergeants and they ain't doing nothing, and then I promote. Every level. It's like, it was because of somebody that wasn't doing their job, and I was like, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna change it, I'm gonna do it. Pues aquí estoy, here I am. So this is what prompted my story. Thank you.
And last but not least, Dr. Adrienne Holloway is the newest to arrive to Houston. She's only been here a couple of years now. She came in the middle of the pandemic. And so she has taken on so many leadership roles, not only within her own organization and managing a $1 billion plus budget, but being appointed to many leadership roles here in the city already in the brief amount of time that she's been here. So, Dr. Holloway, one, how do you like Houston? Secondly, what motivated you to step into the leadership role that you're in? And are there other events in your life that led to this, obviously, not being from Houston?
Sure. I am originally from New York City, and I moved from New York to LA after grad school, and then from LA to Houston, and then Houston, Chicago, and now I'm back to Houston. So I lived here 15 years ago, and I loved it. So my husband and I were thinking about ways in which we could get back to Houston at some point in our future, and then this job presented itself. But as far as I think what's been shared here is there's different points and pathways and journeys that people take that bring them to a leadership position. And I would say what started my path and my journey to leadership was really living in a family where my parents were pretty ill. And as a result of their illness, I had to step in as a leader of my family and take care of some of the responsibilities that parents normally would take care of for both my brother, who was older, and my sister, who was younger, and I had a grandmother who lived with us as well. And not so much concerned with that level of responsibility, but feeling the importance of stepping in and and really just being in the gap for my family. And taking on that role, I think, led to me looking for those opportunities or finding opportunities that were just there that nobody else could or would step in to move the needle or to take action. So I developed a modality of putting myself in places where I would not only do what I was being asked to do, but do what I knew also needed to be done and no one else was finding the opportunity to do so. So that just kind of led to different types of careers, pathways, and opportunities that I've taken on, and kind of led to why I've moved to different places as well. Not because I was looking to be a leader, but I was looking to address something that no one else was addressing. So when I think of being disruptive, I don't think of it being this negative connotation of some level of action. And I'm gonna ask, how many people like Starbucks? Look at that. I'm not a fan of Starbucks, but years ago, no one was drinking Starbucks. No one would pay $3 for a cup of coffee. And that's just not the fancy coffees either, it's your regular cup of coffee. You just buy a $1 cup of coffee and call it a day. But someone thought it was a good idea to come up with this Starbucks concept and disrupt the entire coffee industry. But now it's the norm, right? One person might have said, yeah, I'll buy a $3 cup of coffee, and the rest of us are buying $1 cup of coffee. But now we had almost half, if not more than that, who would say, yeah, they'll drink a Starbucks cup of coffee. So disruption in any type of industry is saying, this is the status quo, but is the status quo what it should be or needs to be? And when you're looking at it from that way, you're also looking at ways in which you can shift that status quo to what it should be or what it could be. Starbucks is not a disruptor anymore, it's the norm. So if you continue to disrupt and move that idea forward or that concept forward and get that momentum going, it ends up being the norm. So what we see here today in women in leadership positions or in leadership roles, we have more now than we've had in the past. So we are continuing to disrupt, but our goal is for this to be the norm. So how do we continue to find that to be the norm? So how did I get this job? Well, first, again, I was looking to see how can we get back to Houston? And then I saw this job, and I came from Chicago, and I was the first Chief Innovation Officer for the city of Aurora, which is the second largest city in Illinois. Paved the way for creating that office. But prior to that, I was Assistant Director to DePaul University. So I was on the tenure track. And I knew I wanted to do something different than just be a professor and not really find ways to give back to the community, because all my work had been in community development. So I saw this job posting and I said, wow, that's like almost everything that I've done in a smaller scale, but it was a much bigger job. So I had to have two questions that I needed to ask. First, could I do it? And what value add would I bring to this space and disrupt what was going on in the department, disrupt what's going on in Harris County, and bring my collective experience there? And would they value that? Because that's always going to be a question. You're going to have skills, experience, knowledge that you know are of value, and you know you can actually do something if given the opportunity to put that into place. But if who you may present that to doesn't value that contribution, doesn't mean that you're not of value. It just means you're in the wrong place. So that was the other question. Do I think that they will value what I brought? And fortunately, they did. And one of the comments that I received post-interview was the fact that I was coming in with a multitude of experiences and having lived in different places. And they thought that that would help bring a different perspective, at least a different lens in which how I might look at issues and address them. So I was fortunate to get the position.
Well, welcome to Houston. We're glad to have you. I wanted to ask, I'll start with Cynthia. There's a lot of women in here, there's a lot of students in here that are looking to learn how do they get involved in their community, civic engagement, whether it be political or non-political. What are some words of advice that you'd like to give? And you did give some earlier, but what are some words of advice or anything that you'd like to share with the audience and leave them with that if they're looking to get involved, and or even with your own organization, because Catholic Charities is quite impressive and they provide a number of services to the community. So I'd like to ask you to share with the audience.
Well, if you know anybody who needs our services, it's all on our website, catholiccharities.org. I promise we don't try to make you Catholic when you walk through the door. Okay, here, go to Mass, here's some rosary beads. No, that does not happen. In fact, we just serve, right, to help the community. Our vision statement says we're people of faith helping people in need achieve greater self-sufficiency and live with dignity, and which is what we all want, right? So if you need Catholic Charities, I promise we'll be here for you. Secondly, in terms of getting involved, when I think, back in my life, and also what I advise younger people to do today, start with your passion. So if human services, right, isn't your particular passion, maybe it's the environment, and maybe it's animal welfare. All of these things need you. All of these areas, they need bright minds, they need innovative thinkers, and they need people who are going to roll up their sleeves and get things done. And it can be as simple as just taking, and I know when you're a student, it's hard to have that time. I get it. But you're going to have space in your life where you have time to give back, and I always believe we want to pay it forward. So whatever your passion is, then carve out some time for volunteer work. And there's lots of ways to volunteer. Easy ways. You can do a once a month gig serving at a food pantry. You can be a mentor to another youth, right? There's so many youth who would benefit from your mentorship. You can visit a senior person at their home. You can do Meals on Wheels. There's tons of volunteer opportunities. And that will lead you, I think, into other opportunities. Well, gosh, we have a board of directors opening in XYZ agency. At my agency, we have what's called a Young Leaders group. And many organizations too. The Food Bank has one. A lot of the nonprofits have one. United Way has one. And it's not just to promote mentoring and leadership within the young adults. It's also to give them opportunities to serve the community. So get involved. And maybe it's politics, right? I think, I don't know, does everybody here know Conchita Reyes? She's everywhere. You know Conchita.
Connect you.
She's a connector. And so find your passion. Find something that you can do to make the world a better place. And if it's as small as, I'm going to put groceries in somebody's car, or as big as, I'm going to be the president of the board someday, the board of directors, or I'm going to run for public office, there's a lot of steps you could take, and I guarantee you there's people in the community willing to mentor you.
Perfect segue to boards and commissions again. Maria, how can Latinas get more engaged in our community by serving on boards? What advice can you give to our attendees today?
Sure. So I would say there's a couple of organizations out there that will train you to be on a board if you don't know. If you want to serve, but you say, I just have no idea what it's going to take, and if I have the skills and what I bring to the table, there's an organization called Latinos for Education, and they train you for 6 months, and they place you into a nonprofit after those 6 months that need Latino representation. There's also, United Way has a program called Project Blueprint that you can go online and go read about. And I don't know how long that program is, but I know the objective is as well to get a diverse group of people to sit on other boards. In terms of the city has over 100 boards and commissions. The county has 63 boards and commissions. And at the city, a lot of the council members have a lot of sway in terms of nominations for these boards and commissions. So find out who your elected officials are, start building relationships. All of those council members have newsletters. Start going to those events and meet your council member. At the county commissioners are the ones that nominate individuals to represent their precincts on these boards and commissions. So the same thing, they have newsletters, sign up, go to those events, meet the staff for each of the commissioners. And I would say also a lot of these meetings are open to the Texas Open Meetings Act, TOMA. So they're open to the public. Go sit and learn about them. A lot of them also have videos online of past meetings. And so get familiar with the work that they're doing, and then, just tell whoever's the person who has the decision power, right? Let them know, hey, I've gone to the meetings. I know what they do. I know what I'm bringing to the table. I'm really interested. Here's my resume. Here's my application. And there are boards out there for everything. For, like Cynthia mentioned, for if you love animals. I mean, BARK needs volunteers all the time to walk the dogs that are waiting to be adopted, right? If you are interested in the library, the Houston Library has like a youth council for young professionals who want to fundraise for the library programming. Like I said, city has over 100, county has 63, so there's a board that deals with something that interests you.
Thank you. We only got a couple of minutes left, but I wanted to pass it over to Patty. She said I could call her Patty, so I'm going to take her up on it. To Patty, what advice would you give to our attendees here today looking to get involved?
To get involved, look at our website. We have a Citizens Police Academy, which is, not a whole background check, but somewhat of a background check, because of course, you're going to come into contact with the police and stuff like that. So we got to make sure you're on the up and up, not like me, right? But so look at our website. We got a lot of opportunities. Stay involved. If you live in Houston, go to your PIP meetings. There you can engage with your divisions, and those divisions are very tied into the community with the kids, trunk or treats, Christmas, and all that good stuff. And that's where your involvement is very important, knowing what's going on in your communities, participating, especially, and we say this all the time, just you being a leader at home, showing your mentorship to your kids or your cousins, your nephews, that is the most important role that I need for people to do. Because right now, kids are everywhere. Nobody pays attention to the children. And me being a grandmother and a mother, I tell you, they're in need of leadership. And I can't think of people better than you here in this room to do that. And that, for me, is more powerful. And I'm going to stop right there because I'm going to say something very politically correct. But thank you so much.
You can be disruptive here. And thank you. Thank you. I think we all try to be there for our kids, and that's so important, especially during the pandemic. It has put them so behind. So thank you for that comment. And then finally, I'll give it to Dr. Holloway for one final share with the audience.
So I'm just going to echo all of what was shared with my co-panelists and add another dimension. We're talking about disruption. We need to disrupt the corporate boards with Latina representation. So as you're developing your skill set and you're working into these boards at the local level, whether it's a nonprofit organization, whether it's the city or the county, let that be your learning spot, but keep your eye on the prize. How can we get to these corporate boards where they're making some significant decisions that are impacting our lives every day that aren't necessarily informed by those that that is impacting. And it's not easy, because it's also a responsibility of you to know, right? It's still the networking that's part of this. Know who you need to know, who's going to introduce you to the people who can get you onto those boards. That, to me, is that ultimate goal. So I'm talking to not only the young people, because you have that opportunity to start building the building blocks to getting to those boards, but our professionals that are in the room as well. You know how to work on local boards, but we need your voice, we need your expertise, and we need your power on those corporate boards so that what they produce and how they interface and interact and interfere with our communities are at least responsive to what we want to see them do.
Thank you so much. Can we give a round of applause for these wonderful panelists today? These ladies are amazing. A few of them will stick around. A couple have to go. Chief Cantu has to go work the Veterans Day Parade. But thank you all so much for being here. We appreciate it so much, and thank you, ladies, for your insight. We appreciate you. Thank you.
So wasn't that a great panel? Yes, yes. Yes. So thank you again, ladies. But I'm going to have to do a shout out since everyone was talking about ancestry. I'm going to have to give a shout out to my mom's ancestry. Our family is from Guanajuato, Mexico. So for all those from Guanajuato, okay. So we can all agree that there are not enough women in politics and even less Latinas. We cannot deny that society still struggles to accept the idea of women in leadership roles in political positions. Our next panel wants to change that. Our second panel is Latinas using their political power. I would like to invite Tanya McCanny Rivera, our moderator for this panel, and all the amazing panelists to take their seats on the stage now.
Good morning, how's everyone doing? Well, today's Veterans Day, and I wanted to ask, do we have any veterans in the room or families that have veterans? Just want to thank you for your service and sacrifice and for being here today. My name is Tanya McCanny Rivera, and I'm the Director of External and Legislative Affairs with AT&T. And as the previous panel, we're going to ask everyone to introduce themselves, provide their title, the organization that they're with, and also their heritage, but I'm going to go first. So born and raised in Houston, I got a shout out to A-Leaf because I'm from A-Leaf. And my mom's from Nicaragua, and my dad is from Iran. So I'm happy to be here, and I'm going to toss it over to Claudia.
Well, thank you so much. Gracias, Tania. Gracias, Yvette Mayo, for inviting me. My name is Claudia Ortega Hogue. I'm the President-elect and Vice President of Strategic Partnerships for the League of Women Voters of Houston. My background, I guess, I was actually Googling right now. I'm like, I think I'm a 1.5 generation. So that means like born in Laredo, Texas, raised in Tepic, Nayarit, Mexico, till I was 18. Then moved to Oklahoma, so a mix of everything. And my dad is actually from San Luis Potosí. I mean, my mom is from San Luis Potosí, and my dad is from Tamaulipas. So, but I really am a Houstonian at heart, so thank you.
Good morning, everyone. It's so great to be here. My name is Dolores Lozano, and I am the newly elected Justice of the Peace in Precinct 2, Place 2. Thank you. First woman and first Latina to serve in that seat. My family, my grandparents are from Pesqueria and Tampico, Mexico. I grew up in Southeast Houston, Easton, and then moved to Beverly Park. That's it, right? Yeah.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Buenos dias. My name is Daniela Hernandez, but I go by Dani, and I am on the Houston ISD School Board of Trustees. And my parents are Mexican, so my mom has a 3rd grade education. She's from Montemorelos, Nuevo León, and my dad has a 10th, 11th grade education from Vallehermoso, Tamaulipas, and I am also from the East End. I still live there, and I'm super proud to be here today. Thank you for being here and listening to us.
Thank you so much. Let's give them a round of applause. And I have to tell you that Dolores just had her election this past Tuesday, and so we're just happy that she has the strength to be here. And she was out there. She didn't have to, because she didn't have an opponent on the Republican side, but she still continued. She had a write-in, but he wasn't gonna win. And so, but she was still out at every event, and so just thank you so much. I'm gonna start with Claudia. Similar to the previous panel, except I'm gonna combine some things, and I already told her I'm gonna give her a look if she's going too long, because sometimes, you know, we get real excited. What motivated you to step up to become a leader in the community, and then was there a specific event in your life that kind of catapulted you to do that?
So I think that, you know, I never really thought of myself like, oh, I want to be a leader. I want to be a, you know, I never really thought of it. I really just thought of diving into the causes and the issues that really, really matter to me the most. So for example, you know, growing up, I lived, like I mentioned earlier, you know, I lived in Mexico and my mom was in the States. So I was separated from my mother for 12 years. So that was something that was a struggle. So from that, I think it really kind of came in the passion of like, how can I keep families reunited, right? So that's when I had the opportunity to volunteer with Naleo Educational Fund, which their whole passion or cause of mission was naturalization. How do we naturalize all those eligible legal permanent residents to, you know, have not only the right to vote, But also for me, because I grew and lived through it, was like, how do we keep families together so other families don't go through the same thing? So for me, it was like when I moved to Houston, was volunteering. So I think it was never about like, I'm gonna be the one day the Southwest Regional State Director, which I did, but it was really more as a volunteer. How can I make a difference, right? How can I get involved? Really diving into voter, another issue was voter empowerment. Was voter rights. How do we select or how do we elect people that have the best interest for the Latino community? So that's how I started volunteering in naturalization ceremonies. I was able to, we were able to serve over 1,500 people at a time, and majority of them were Latinos, and it was just providing the service, running up and down on the M.O. Campbell Educational Center. But I think that's how really what allowed me to dive in, and I think once I was into this, the door opened. It was just, once I was in LA and, I was a volunteer, all of a sudden the director at the time said, I'm moving to El Paso, I'm living, and I'm like, I'm new. And it was when either I jump in, and I think you met her, jump in or not, and I think I just took the leap of faith. I think Cynthia Colbert said it earlier, and I was like, well, I'll start as an interim, and I'll start at this, but it was really hard work. Also, the opportunity when I was working in LA, and then I got a call from Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia's office. Do you want to be a district director? And what does a district director do? I never worked in government, but I knew people, I knew community, and I knew that I would be passionate about doing it. So I took another leap of faith. So I think just diving into, diving into those issues, I think that eventually the universe takes you into those areas, and taking that leap of faith and like saying, why not? And then right now, as the president-elect for the League of Women Voters, I was very nervous. It's a 102-year organization, and I will be the first Latina in over 100 years, right? And when that came up, I was like, why not? If they say, at least I have to give it a try, right? And I think that's been my way of navigating the system, and like one thing takes you to the other, but I think it's about hard work and commitment of what is real and true to yourself.
Thank you. And I met Claudia probably over 15 years ago when I was an intern for then City Council member Adrian Garcia, who's now a county commissioner. And so she knew me before I had any white hair or kids and anything else. But Dolores, before becoming the youngest Justice of the Peace here in Harris County, you were already a leader. So can you talk to us a little bit about, what pushed you to be a leader in the community? And then also, was there something, a specific event, a tragedy, or something in your family that kind of pushed you to step into that?
Yes, thank you. So what pushed me to be a leader was my parents. My parents have a high school education. More specifically, my mother, she's a strong Latina. She's been in law enforcement for the past 37 years, and seeing her wake up every day and do what she needed to do for our community really inspired me to get involved. So I've been pushing cards since Commissioner Adrian Garcia ran for city council. So I've always really been around in the community. What really pushed me to run for office, run for this position, had a lot to do with my life. I'm a survivor of sexual assault, a survivor of domestic violence. And after graduating from Baylor, being the first in my family, as I mentioned, I was a survivor of domestic violence, and I saw how much the justice system fails us, specifically women of color, and really wanted to do my part to ensure that we get the justice that we deserve. And I saw a position on my side of town where a white man had been there for 35 years. And I said, why not? My mom thought I was crazy when I put my name on the ballot, but here we are now, the first woman and first Latina to serve in that seat, and I'm very grateful and looking forward to the service ahead.
Thank you. Trustee, the same question for you. You're on the board of one of the largest school districts probably in the nation, and my kids go to HISD. What pushed you to decide to run for school board and to be that leader? Was it a specific event?
So I was a teacher for 4 years, and then I was an assistant principal for 2 years, and I took a step back, and I was like, education's a little much. As you know, teachers work really hard. So I took a step back. I was a real estate agent, and in just networking, there was an organization that was like, hey, there's a seat open, and you should run for it. And I was like, what are y'all talking about? What seat? Like, I could never be on there. And I was like, maybe when I'm 60, when I retire and I have some extra time. And they were like, no, right now, in 1 year. And I was like, what? And it took me a while to decide. But, you know, one of the things that I heard from another trustee recently in another city was like, you know, it took me a long time to get there, but once I was there, you know, I figured out I'm one of the most qualified people here. And that's so interesting to see that, right? To think that you're not qualified, but then once you get there, you're like, oh, wow, like, who are these people? Like, I am one of the most qualified. And it's really hard to say that for me, right? It's really hard as Latina to give myself that kind of accolade. But like, now I'm like, okay, wow, like, I can do this. So I never thought that I would do this. I never had any idea that this would be part of my life trajectory, but it was just an opportunity and it was a big risk and I just took it. And that's how I'm here today.
Cool. Dolores, we're gonna come to you. Thank you so much. You know, you talked about running against someone that had been an incumbent for 35 years, and in politics, majority of our elected officials are men. When people are asked to run, when people ask women to run, it takes a while for us to feel like we're capable or that we have the skills that are needed. So what helped you build that confidence, and how did you deal with how did you build that resiliency over the course of your career?
Okay, I will say that I am a disruptor, so I was gonna do it regardless of what anyone said. But what really built my confidence and resiliency was keeping my circle tight and really leaning on my family and my friends and finding my joy within them, because this space is it can be very daunting and scary, and it is messy. So you really need a great support system to get through it. And so really finding my joy in my people really is what got me to where I am today and what got me through the finish line.
Thank you. Claudia, how would you answer that question in terms of you know, building your self-confidence to be able to work in the Congresswoman's office and just the career that you have built and having resiliency?
You know, as Dolores mentioned, I think I have had the opportunity when I moved to Houston. I mean, Houston was such a welcoming city, and I met wonderful people. I was new to Houston, new to politics, you know, and one of the things I surrounded myself with great, wonderful, tight friends, for example, and she will be speaking earlier, a great mentor of mine, Grace Olivares, that works for Univision. I was new, but it was finding those people that wanted to pay it forward, right? And build, so she was, you know, I think surrounding myself, and it was just kind of, she will believe more in myself than I will believe in myself. And I'm like, I don't know if I can do this, but it's like, you got this. As Yvette says sometimes, you know, like, we got this, we can go forward, we can do anything we want to do. And it was really just surrounding myself with people that believe in me and also believing in myself. And I think more than anything, I mentioned earlier, taking a leap of faith in some of the things that you probably never done, and really just standing, you know, just being confident that you'll be able to do it. But I think also more than anything, what it gave me strength was seeing with the community point is like making an impact of how people's lives were changing and people's lives were improving. So I think that was something that was, and to this day, I get involved in a lot of different causes, but it has to be true to the community and make a difference in people's lives.
Thank you. Do you want to add?
I wanted to add something. Having a great partner also is what helped me. And my husband is here today, so I just want to shout him out. He ran my campaign. So having just a good life partner is also what makes it all worth it.
Thank you. Trustee?
You know, as Latinas, we're usually not just open to asking for help. And I think that like during my campaign, I had no idea how to run a campaign. I told my parents I was going to run a campaign, and they're like, what? What does that even mean? I was like, there's going to be little signs outside with my name on it, okay? And they were like, okay. And I had no idea what I was doing, but there was a big community that helped me out, and they helped me out all the way. And so I think asking questions, getting help, and being open to getting that help was one of the biggest things for me, because I didn't know how to do that. And I think that running my campaign and taking that leap, that risk, definitely helped me understand I do need help from everybody. Everybody needs help from everybody else, right? You can't do everything on your own. And I think that that's something that, at least me growing up, the way that my parents raised me, it was just like, just be very independent. You could do it all by yourself. And it's like, no, actually, you do need help from everybody. So that really helped me out.
I ran for Justice of the Peace in 2016, and everyone had all types of advice for me, whether it was you need to make sure you get your nails done, make sure you do your hair a certain way, you have to wear this, you have to wear that. And we know sometimes guys can wear the same suit and just change the tie, right? What advice would you give, Dolores, for any Latina that is considering entering public service, whether it's running for office or just working in government?
It might sound cliche, but be yourself. That's when you're going to show up and be most confident. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Have that confidence to yourself. Speak to yourself. Meditate. Give yourself some time, because this is a hard space, but you know yourself better than anyone else. So trust that voice inside more than anyone else.
Daniela, did you want to?
Yeah, I mean, I would totally agree with that. Like, I don't wear a lot of makeup. I don't do my nails. Like, I'm wearing heels today, but that's not really who I am. One, because I'm already really tall, but be yourself, right? Like, when you're block walking or, talking to people, if you're just genuine, it comes off so much better than if you're trying to be someone you're not. So I tried that. It doesn't work. Just be yourself.
Claudia?
I can add to that. I go to be yourself. I love that because I remember, as an example, when I started working with at the House of Representatives with a member of Congress, the first thing I was told is like, well, you can't take selfies. And I'm like, well, why not?
And she's the selfie
and
queen.
And if people know that,
she's the selfie
whoever
queen.
knows me, I'm like, that's all I do, selfies, and highlight all the great causes and the great work that is out there. And I did struggle for a little bit just because I'm like, and I did stop. And I was like, that's just not me. And I'm there posing. I'm like, no, that's just not me. And I was like, okay, whatever. And I just started doing it. And I'm like, I will go. And I just said, I'm going to be real. I'm going to be real. I'm going to try to be as genuine. And I'm going to be Claudia, crazy, clumsy Claudia. And I'm going to be myself. And I think that has opened the door and it has given favor and connections, right, with other people. And I think it's about how people feel when you connect with them, that they're seeing somebody true versus somebody that, well, I do love makeup, Danny, and eyelashes and all that. But at the end of the day, I'm still, want to be like who I am, right? So, be true to yourself.
Well, I just wanted to ask for those that are elected officials, when I was coming up and I was an intern and then I thought about running for office, like at 26, everyone told me, wait your turn, you have to put in more work. And now I would say, if you want to run for office, run for office. What resources are out there to help women that are thinking about running for office in terms of, you do want to have some training, you have to learn about campaigns, how to fundraise, how to establish a platform. Was there anything that you two participated in that kind of helped you through that process?
I think for me, representation matters. Donnie, I remember seeing your signs and I'm like, who is this girl? I need to meet her. And she ended up supporting me in my campaign. And just finding those friends in this space is very important because they're gonna give you the real. There's also other organizations like Run for Something or Latinos for Ed that can provide you with those resources that you need, but nothing compares to meeting the actual people that are already in seats and what they went through. And it's kind of trial and error. I fundraised off Facebook and I thought that wasn't gonna be successful, and it was. And so there's just different ways to fundraise, to get your name out there. So I recommend you come and talk to us. Donnie and I are more than welcome to speak to you about what we went through, and it's definitely something that is possible. Don't let anyone tell you to wait your turn, or you have to do this and this and this, or be a precinct chair first. If you really feel that you want to run for office, do it, because now is the time to do it. You're only young once, so do it while you're young.
Yeah, I agree with that. If you want to run for office, do it. Like, the worst that can happen is that you don't win, but your name is out there, you get experience, and that's the biggest thing. Like, once you have experience, then you could do it again and do it better, right? Just because you failed the first time doesn't mean anything. I would highly suggest Latinos for Ed. Once you're alumni of Latinos for Ed, you can be a part of another organization, and that organization helped me out a lot. It's called Leadership for Educational Equity, and they try to make sure that there's diversity in the educational space, so being on boards and things like that.
And they give you money.
And they help you not only with giving you money, but they if you are thinking about running, they put on a lot of trainings throughout the country that you can attend, and they help pay for that to get you over there and everything. That gives you a lot of information of like, hey, how do I even start this, right? I went to one before I ran, and I was like, okay, I still have no idea what I'm doing, but at least I have some like general understanding of what my next steps need to be. And that was really, really helpful.
And Run for Something is also a great resource because they also provide you to like vendors that help you with text messages and give you a cheaper price than you'll find on the market. So if you join some of these programs, it's a huge benefit to you. It's cost effective and highly recommend it.
Well, I'm going to come back to Daniela. What initiatives are you most focused on right now, and how are they important to our community? So whether it's your work on the school board or elsewhere, are there some things that are something that we should be paying attention to?
So the most prominent thing currently is that HISD is redistricting. And so redistricting means not for the schools, but for the individual single member trustee areas are going to change. So currently my district, I have like Mason Park, Golfgate, Hobby area, and that has the lowest amount of population. So my area needs to grow significantly. And we're trying to figure out where I'm gonna grab population from the city. So there's one map out there that has me going into like downtown Montrose area, and then there's another map where I'm just grabbing some part of Alameda down south. And so that really matters because HISD has 3 historically Latino seats, and so where the district ends up grabbing seats from will determine what the predominance of Latino population voters will be. So right now my district is 78% Latino. One map will make it 51% Latino. So yes, still predominantly Latino, but very different margins, 51 and 78 or something like that. So that, and then because I was a teacher, an elementary school teacher, I know how much early childhood education matters to our students and to our community, right? I am only here because my childhood education was great. And I don't think that everybody in our community right now has that. We know that half of 3rd graders do not leave 3rd grade reading. So that doesn't mean that we need to do better at 3rd grade. That means we need to do better at pre-K, K, 1st, and 2nd. And on the HISD board, almost every single day, I'm like, hey, what are we doing for early childhood? What are we doing for early childhood? I think that there needs to be a lot more emphasis on early childhood. We know that the city is bringing Montessori into the city. And so trying to just figure out what else we need to do to make sure that our pre-K3 to 2nd graders are learning and have all the resources they need so that they can get to where they need to be and be able to read and succeed.
Thank you. Claudia, what initiatives are you focused on right now with the League of Women Voters, and how are they important for our community?
So right now, I'm continuing to focus on the naturalization piece. For me, as I mentioned earlier, is personal because it matters of the family reunification. But in Texas, there's about 1.3 legal permanent residents that are eligible to naturalize. which once you help them naturalize, right, they're super voters, super engaged, and that kind of connects within also with the League's mission on voter empowerment, voter education, where we have the power to shift policies, legislation. We are a power block, and I think we can elect people that have the best interest for our community, hence Dolores and Danny, right, that have the best interest. So then for me, it's something that I'm continuing to work on. Education, my kids go to HISD, so I believe on having a good education. That's something that growing up, my mom working in the States and me living in Mexico, she only went to elementary school, but because of her sacrifice, and she was our guerrera luchona, we were able to get a good education. And I want to make sure that parents that are here are able to, would like to continue to advocate for education and leadership, continue to build a pipeline of leadership so then we can empower and pay it forward. So.
Thank you. And Dolores, I want to ask the audience, how many of you know what a Justice of the Peace does? Okay. Well, I want to ask Dolores to tell us a little bit about what that role is, and then now as she's stepping into this role, and she'll be sworn in soon, what are you going to focus on based on what you've heard from the community, and why is that important for our community?
Definitely. So Justice of the Peace generally keeps the peace between neighbors. It was created you also don't have to be an attorney to be in this position, so it's the only judicial position that you don't have to have a law degree. You deal with truancy cases, so our kids, the cases that they see in our schools, traffic tickets, small claims up to $20,000. Evictions is big, it's part of the reason why I got involved. And the fun stuff is that you get to marry people as well. And so something that I'm really focused on as a whole is access to education and opportunity and information. I was the first in my family to go to college. I also serve as a board member for KIPP Texas, the first alumni to serve. KIPP was what provided me the opportunity to be where I am today. And I really want that opportunity for our kids because our education system does need some work. And I'm really working on access to legal aid. I mentioned earlier that I was survivor of domestic violence. It was very hard for me to find legal counsel, and I know too, in eviction cases, I didn't know how that process went until my uncle evicted me. So really making sure that people have that information and they're also being provided with the resources they need, with the aid that they need to ensure that that their cases are heard and seen justly. Because the number one indicator that we're seeing right now in eviction cases is a child's in the home. And so we're seeing those truancy cases, we're seeing the learning loss right now in the pandemic. So I really want to ensure that we're serving everyone and getting them the information that they need and the access to legal aid.
Thank you. This one I think is our last question, so hopefully I might just start asking some other ones until I see the sign pop up. But how can, I'm gonna start with Claudia, how can Latinas support other Latinas? Can you share an example of how another woman has supported you? And how can we do this authentically? And I wanna shout out Claudia, because anytime I post something on Twitter, she retweets it. If there's something going on in the community, she makes sure that it's out there. Same thing with Yvette. I think that it's just important for us to support one another. And so can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, it can be thank you. It can be as simple as really celebrating other women. When I see, even just in social media, you can start on your own, right? Like if I see another, somebody just got an award, I'm like resharing, clapping, just telling the whole world because they're achieving something. Simple as, sharing contact information. When I had the experience when I had an experience where it's like, you get to a certain level, you're like, well, you can't share your contact information. That is your database. And I'm like, what do you mean? This is the community database. So if you call me, you need a contact, and I know who that is, I'm gonna make sure to share the information or connect you to somebody that I know. So I think it's doing little simple things that sometimes we often don't think about that, of like, just celebrating and like helping other women, just get to where they need to go. Also, I think someone that had a good impact, and I mentioned her earlier, that has done something, is that just like I had angels out there really advocating for me, I want to make sure that I'm advocating for other women or other people as well to get to the places that they need to go. And for me, one of the most important things is connecting people to people, where it makes sense to do those partnerships and community where you can really change lives and impact. So as simple as that.
Daniela?
Yeah, this is an interesting question. So this summer I was with another Latina trustee from Pasadena ISD, and she's the first Latina in that seat as well, Paola. And I think the like 30 most influential women in Houston came out. I think maybe it was 40. And there was maybe one Latina in there. And I'm like, what is going on? How are we in Houston, where the population is at least 50% Latino, and we have one Latina influential woman in the Houston list, right? And I went back and I looked at the list from the year before, and I was like, there's maybe one or two. I was like, that's really crazy. So I'm not sure that I'm answering your question directly, but Paola and I were like, man, we should get together, figure out where these lists are coming from, and nominate each other, right? Nominate other Latinas that we know, because it's not that we're not doing anything. It's that I don't think that we, like I said earlier, we're not necessarily just want to put ourselves out there. It's really hard to do that. But I think that it's something that we need to do in order to take the next step. And so we haven't actually done anything, but I think it's something that we need to do, just making sure that we see what is out there and promoting each other, because without doing that, it's really hard for anybody else to promote you. I supported Dolores, even though
she's already answering my part of the question. Empowered women empower women. I cannot tell you how much Dani has supported me through my journey, and Paola, and just being 3 Latinas in this space, political space. It is just so important to uplift each other and be each other's cheerleaders, superstars, because mentorship, you don't have to have, your mentor doesn't need to be 10 years older than you. Mentorship's all about patience and supporting one another and believing in each other and lifting each other up. So I think to put Latinas forward is just to be there for each other authentically, support each other, because that's the only way that we're gonna keep growing and elevating into these spaces.
Well, thank you. We have 5 more minutes, and so I just have a curiosity question. So I think that all of us have gone through some adversity through this political whether it's working for an elected official or working in politics or running for office. Was there something that was said to you that you just were shocked that maybe something ugly out on the campaign trail, or just something that somebody told you that you couldn't do something, and then how did you kind of push through that? And so I'll share that when I ran, I'm half Hispanic and Persian, and so there were some people that said, oh, she's not really Latina, because people were telling other people that I wasn't even born here. So there was just a lot of things that from our own community sometimes can just be shocking, but I kind of just told myself, I know who I am, and I know, what culture I identify with. And so can you share something about that?
I think for me, which was really tough in this day and age, is dealing with the anti-Blackness in our community, and really understanding that in this day and age, we really need to push for a Black and Brown coalition. It was hard for me having a Black husband and seeing that we're still in this stage of life, but it's important to be a disruptor and talk about those things, because that's only what's going to push us forward, is working together, because we are the minority in the state, and we're going to need to work together to really make a difference.
There's a lot of colorism in the Latino community. When I was running, there was somebody else who took a picture that semi-resembled me, had brown hair and light skin, and was holding a Trump that said Latinas for Trump. And, it was a big thing during my campaign, Dani is a Latina for Trump. And I was like, what? That's not even me in that picture. And it was just because, I'm lighter skinned, I have lighter eyes, and some people are like, oh, well, are you really Latina, right? And, you know, like I grew up in the East End, my parents speak Spanish, like I speak Spanish. And I was just like, oh, that's a very interesting scenario. And I've kind of dealt with it my whole life, but seeing it at the campaign trail, it's a little bit different to see it from another perspective. But I mean, colorism is all over the Latino community, and we need to understand that like Latinos look like everyone, right? There's not one way that Latinos look, and I think that was really shocking to me to see it from the campaign trail that because you look like this, you must be a Republican.
Yes, well, I think I have examples of every stage of every job that I have taken, like whether, you know, your English is not good enough, you have an accent, I'm not sure if you're gonna be able to do this. And every time I proved to myself, well, you know what? I became the international student advisor. You know, the only thing I had was like I was typing fast and I was good at typing. Mexican monjitas worked out because I was really good at typing, and it got me in the door for the job. So I was like, you see? Then the next thing was, I think, a couple of things was when I was going to leave this wonderful nonprofit that I love working into government, I was told, you know, you don't have thick skin. And as you guys know me, but I was like, you have thick skin, you're not going to survive. And I was like, goodness, but if I don't ever do it, I'm always going to wonder, right? And you're like a softie in this. And I'm like, you know what? I was there almost 3 years, right, Corey? Almost 3 years, and I've learned and I survived, and it just made me tougher and believe in myself. So I think that those are the things that kind of just stuck on me, like, you know, you can't do it, but I kind of just dug in. I'm like, I'm gonna do it, why not? And I think that kind of led to open up the doors, and when people don't believe, then you just kind of, the universe brings it to you.
Well, thank you so much, ladies, for sharing your story, and just appreciate you and wish you the best of luck, and please let us know how we can continue to support you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, everyone, we're going to get started for our final panel. So if everyone could take their seats, I greatly appreciate it. Yes. Okay. So this is our last amazing panel that we have for this segment of the conference. Latinas are an economic powerhouse. Latinas are not just thriving in the marketplace, they are also making great strides in education, politics, and business ownership. Today, Latinas are more qualified to serve in high-ranking positions than ever before. You will now have the opportunity to meet some powerful Latinas that are striving to build world-renowned brands through their own hard work and influence, outcomes, profits, and people. Our third panel today is Latinas Creating Business Success. I would like to invite Yvette Mayo, our moderator for this panel, and all the amazing panelists to take their seats on the stage.
That's how you do an intro, right? You don't get started until you hear the applause. Don't you know that?
I agree.
All right, ladies, let me just tell you something. Or let me ask first. Great panels so far? Awesome. So as you can see, we have someone who will be joining us shortly, so she'll be here. But what we're going to do is get started. But what I want you to understand is that these women are disruptors. Much like the introduction that Christine gave, they are taking risk, and they're influencing not only our community, but industries, okay? And I want you to think about industries, right? Because that means business. And you know, one thing about being disruptive is letting people know that there is a Latina way, right? So I just want to share a little bit about myself, but before I do that, I want to introduce our amazing panelists, and they're going to share a little bit about themselves so you'll know. But I want to remind you, if you have scanned that code, it'll take you straight to our website, and everyone's bio, their full bios are there, so you can just be thoroughly impressed by these women. So the first young lady on our panel is a person I love and have great admiration for, and call her an amiga. And she's super fly and super fabulous, so you know why we're friends. But the reality of it is this young lady is on Forbes 1000. What does that mean? She's one of the top women-owned businesses in our country. And she hails from Pearland. Okay. So, Luz Elena, thank you for being here, but please tell everyone about who you are, de donde eres, but most importantly, about you.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Well, good morning. First of all, I want to thank U of H Downtown for allowing us to be here, right? And then secondly, this amazing woman, can we get an applause for Yvette? It starts with a person, it starts with someone believing, and this is our leader here. So you are our leader, our Houston leader, our Latina leader, our women leader. This is Miss Yvette. So thank you so much. My name is Luz Elena Rivers. I am from Colombia. Any Colombians here? Oh, qué rico. Well, I feel much better. I'm from Colombia, and I am the president and CEO of Amera Solutions, which is a medical transportation for day surgery. And I live here. I've been here for a long time. We've traveled so many places. I have a very different story. I don't come from an educated family. I come from people who have always struggled. And so all of that stuff right there is who I became, who I am today. So sometimes things happen in our lives, and we wonder why. And then we get to this part, and we say, that's why. So that's what I do. That's who I am.
And now we have the amazing Bertha Villatoros, and she hails from the amazing company called Centerpoint Energy, just down the street here in Louisiana. But this is a young lady who is now in the C-suite, but she hails from Magnolia Park, Houston.
Thank you so much, and Yvette, thank you so much for the opportunity and for giving us an opportunity to share a little bit about us in hopes that we can inspire many of you. So a little bit about myself. So Bertha Villatoro, I work for a wonderful company, Centerpoint Energy. We deliver energy to our customers. We have approximately 9,000 employees. So I serve as the Vice President of Total Rewards and HR Technology. So responsible for all the enterprise-wide compensation programs, benefit programs, and the technology that supports the HR function. Just a little bit of background about, a little bit about myself. I was born and raised in Houston, so straight from El Barrio de Magnolia, off of 78th Street in Harrisburg. I graduated from Milby High School, and actually my parents are from El Salvador. So I've got a little mix of, my parents are from El Salvador, but I was raised and I grew up in a predominantly Mexican neighborhood. So we got a little mix of both. So very proud of that. My parents, they came from El Salvador in the early 1980s, in search for the, kind of the American dream. They don't have an education background. I became the first to graduate from college, just, brothers, sisters, relatives, et cetera. And so, just kind of thought about how do I make a difference and how do I do something different for me and for my family. And so here I am, hoping that I can inspire, definitely when I was promoted to this position last year, I remember my brother saying, y del barrio de Magnolia, de ahí viene. So very proud of that. And again, thank you for the opportunity to share a little bit about us.
Well, I'm super excited. If you can see why I'm excited about this panel, right? So I want to dive right in. So Luz Elena, I want to ask you, did you start out being an entrepreneur? Was this something that you said, I'm going to grow up at, La Chiquita, Luz Elena, I'm going to be an entrepreneur? Was that you?
That was not me. That was not me at all. I was running away from it. Why? Because when we came here, we were undocumented. And then when my parents, well, not my parents, my mom, because she's the only one that raised us, 2 daughters, she went from job to job. We went from school to school. I think one day my sister and I were talking about how many schools we've attended, maybe 22? Maybe 22, and that's not counting college. And so, no, I was not an entrepreneur. I was running away from it because we struggled. Everything in my family, mis tíos, mis tías, everybody was in the hustling, like they're gonna sell this, they're gonna do this, and we never paid bills on time. So I remember not paying bills. I remember having to move, getting evicted, being in shelters. I say this story because I want you guys to understand that being successful doesn't mean that somebody just handed something to you. It doesn't mean that you're a microwave success. I don't believe in microwave success. Everything happens for a reason. And so to me, I was running away from it. So I knew I wanted to be a 9-to-5 person. I knew I wanted to have every 2 weeks a check. I knew I needed benefits. But I married a person who loved business, and he started his business, and I was like, good for you. You do you. Yo no. My check is my check. And then what happened is he started struggling because he's African American, he didn't speak Spanish, and he's not a woman. So then I saw him struggling, so I started helping him, and it got to the point where I was taking over. And then we clashed because men don't like that, right? So then I stepped away, and then he needed me again. Long story short, I made a decision to jump on board and be an entrepreneur. He told me there's a risk. And I'm like, I don't like the word risk. He goes, but there's a reward. And when I taste the reward, I got addicted to the reward of having the freedom of working for myself, of having the freedom of making how much money I want to make. Now I was in a line with, you got to make this much and you got to come to work at this time and clock in. I was like, okay, I know that's not me. And then I remember that my family were like that. They never had bosses. And then I said, pues con razón. I said, no wonder. And so now what I decided to do is I decided to do it differently. I decided to take ownership on it and do it differently. And ever since then, this is who I am. I haven't worked for anybody for over 22 years. And so that's a risk.
Awesome. So now you see what it is to be disruptive, everybody, all right? So I'm gonna take a quick moment and invite Yvonne Goodry to the stage. Yvonne's joined us. And you may know Yvonne, she is a social media influencer here she's based here in Houston, but she's global, all right? And she is known as Spoiled Latina. So I'm going to give her a quick minute to take It's okay. Yvonne, do you have a mic right there next to you? I do not. Okay, let's do a mic roll. There. Perfect.
Hello, hi y'all.
We did good. Anyway, so we just had a chance to introduce ourselves a little bit before we get to the next question. So jump in, tell us a little bit about you.
Okay, hi you guys. I am Yvonne. I'm Yvonne Goodry. I'm based here in Houston, but I started off as a lifestyle blogger back in 2008. And since then, I've been able to grow my brand internationally and working with different brands, major brands, to bring brand affinity to them. But my goal is to connect the brand to the consumer. That's always been my goal. And I do that through live events, influencer marketing, and just anything that the brand needs, I can kind of make it happen with my network and my experience.
So what she basically is doing, everybody, she is monetizing her likes.
Yes, I live for a living. I think that's my thing is I live for a living. Anything that I do, I monetize my day for sure.
Awesome. Interesting, right? I love it. I'm going to come back to you in a quick sec, but I'm going to go back to Bertha. And Bertha, much like Lucelena, she realized at one point she wanted to be an entrepreneur, or it found her. But what made you decide your career path? What chose your way down that career path of success for you?
Yeah, so that's a very interesting question, given that I have a son, he's 16 years old, and I'm pushing him to decide what are you going to do when I had no clue what I was going to do at that age. But when I went to college, so I went to A&M, I thought I was going to be a veterinarian. I just shared that with a few colleagues this morning. I love animals. I have a weakness for animals, and I want to save all the animals. I was anemic because I used to use my allowance to buy food for the dogs in the streets. So that was what I wanted to do, and the best thing that I could do is just go to A&M and become a vet. However, when I was a freshman in college, it was the first time I had cable. So there's this channel called Animal Planet. I think it still exists. So I would watch these shows, and it's like, I think if I see a hurt animal, I think I'm going to need help versus the animal, so or a dog or cat. And so I immediately switched into business. I had it as a kind of as a background. It's the second option. So I switched to business school, and I don't know. I think it's just because it sounded good to be business administration or something like that, and something different for the family because where I was raised is nothing but blue collar. There's no professionals. There's no anyone that you can look up to that's a little different. And then, my junior year, I interned with, then it was El Paso Corporation in the HR department. And so that really kind of just really set the stage for, my career. I did internship. They were great colleagues, great leaders. They took me under their wing. I had such a great experience in the corporate environment. And then, I graduated, kind of went back, and worked for El Paso Corp, then eventually Kinder Morgan, and then I moved to, CenterPoint Energy for another opportunity. But it's just been, just kind of took its path. It really just meeting great people along the way that really served as mentors and really guided sort of my path. And, I found a passion for what I do. I've just kind of moved a little bit around in the HR department to become a more well-rounded HR professional. But that's just sort of been my journey.
Disruptive. Right? Talk about the power of choice, right? We forget about our own power of choice. You make decisions along the way, and I love that. Yvonne, we're going to come to you. And how did you choose this role that you are in now, or did it choose you?
Yeah, I think it chose me in a sense. Well, I knew I came from a background of music, entertainment, and but I was a wife as well. So I knew that I didn't want to just be the wife of a CEO that owns a record label, and I wanted to do my own thing as well.
Oh, did she just slip that in? She did.
Yeah, and I've been married for 17 years, right? So, but I knew that I didn't want to just be like the wife that would show up and, kind of help behind the scenes. So it was in the early days of like MySpace, you guys, when I started, just posting online, and that's kind of how I got the traction with different brands. I've always loved the entertainment industry. I've loved fashion, beauty, entertainment, connecting. That's my thing, and I think it came naturally with what I'm doing. But I'm a hustler, so I go out and meet people, and I know that networking is a big deal, and also building and keeping and nurturing the relationship also is a big deal for me. So yeah, I think I just kind of fell into it, and I love what I do, and I just love like connecting and seeing. Honestly, what I really love is when somebody that I know that I maybe introduced them, or they met through something that I did, and I love seeing that growth aside. Like I kind of take like heartfelt, it's very warming to see them grow and do their own thing by something that I helped create. Yeah.
Well, actually, it reminds me of our situation, Yvonne. Just to remember earlier, I had said, when you start doing things, people start coming to you and looking for you. And we hadn't seen each other, of course, because of the pandemic, but we hadn't seen each other in a good while, and we connected. And she goes, "Oh, I love what you're doing with Power on Heels. We need to connect." And that morning, she had gotten a call from one of her brands who was looking to sponsor a Latina organization here in Houston.
Yeah, and like the brand. Well, it actually happened before that. But when I saw you, I was like, this is it. Like, this is what I was looking for, and this is what I wasn't even gonna go to that event, but I'm like, let me just go. So I went, and I saw you, and in the back of my mind, I already knew what I was doing, so I was like, hey, let me connect with you offline and see what we can do. And yeah, they came in, and it brought some money in.
Yeah. Well, the thing about it is again, money. But ladies, this is what we're talking about, success. And sometimes success doesn't always come the way you think it is. Sometimes it has to come from somewhere else or someone else. Yeah. So long story short, she connected us with Buchanan's, which is one of our overall title sponsors of Power on Heels. They were looking to give money, and they said $10,000. And then we show up, they called us on a Sunday night. Oh, we're going to award you something. Can you be at an event on Thursday? At Thursday, we showed up to get $10,000. They gave us $15,000. And then Less than 2 weeks ago, they called back and said, hey, we've got some additional money. They gave us an extra $5,000. So
Yes.
her making the connection for organizations. So who knew, right? But I want to thank you for that publicly and for people to know. And for anyone who is in the room who attended our Latina Power Academy this July, which was the Elevate Your Powerful Leader Within, raise your hand if you were in that session. Yeah, remember, awesome. We were able to do that because of that grant. They allowed everyone to come for free.
Yeah.
So those are the type of powerful connections we make. I wanted to say something real quick to all of you. The thread that I'm hearing is that you made choices for yourself. You chose not to accept things as they are, all right? I remember after being in my corporate career and doing it quite well and making other people a lot of money, all right? I decided that entrepreneurship was the right thing for us. I have a supportive husband. He says, go for it. And I started my own business in 2004. So if you think Power on Heels is the only thing I do, let's talk, okay? I started my own consulting firm, doing everything that I was doing on the corporate side for myself and taking control. Because one of the challenges I had in corporate America, and I just want to say personally, I got tired of people deciding what was best for my career versus what I was choosing for myself. I took a back seat in my growth. And it wasn't until, like you, that I made a choice for myself that I found that personal satisfaction. Now, I'm not saying that so you all go Monday and quit your jobs. I'm not
Just think about
saying
it.
that. But what I want you to start thinking about is what choices can you make within your company that you can grow in a different direction or grow sideways to go up, or is going up your time now, right? But choose that. Don't let somebody choose it for you, right? And then if creating your own business is that time, then you need to jump in and start getting classes and get involved. You did Goldman Sachs. I'm sure you've done various different certifications. Found out how is the new way of getting it done. So the power of choice is something that we all have, and I just want to thank you for that. So one thing that I wanted to ask, I'm going to go to Bertha on this one. Looking forward is important. What initiatives are you most focused on right now and feel are important to your business and your growth?
Yeah, so that's definitely a great question. So as I mentioned, I do work for a corporation, a publicly traded company, and this, what really comes to mind is our efforts in the DE&I space, diversity, equity, and inclusion. We've been a company that we've embraced diversity and inclusion. However, in 2020, if we all remember, a lot happened in 2020, and really our senior leadership team really took a different approach and really strengthen our commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And is really as a company, and this is something that I think most corporations are thinking about. Advancing diversity, equity, and inclusion is key and critical to our growth and success. And so I can talk about all the great things that we've done since we have a diversity, equity, and inclusion council. Definitely supported from top leadership. Just fast forward, just this year, I think we rolled out about 8 employee resource groups. So we have a Hispanic one, and the amount of activity and effort going in to create that inclusive environment for all of us it's been amazing. We are very intentional, or a lot more intentional, of ensuring that we make progress to make sure that our workforce looks like the areas that we operate and recruit from. Think about, we are headquartered here in Houston, so the idea is that our workforce should look closer to what our population looks like here in Houston, which is heavily Hispanic. So there's a lot of effort behind the scenes in trying to recruit and try to ensure that we have a diverse pool of candidates, that we're developing and establishing partnerships with different organizations to establish that pipeline. Increase presence in certain schools. My understanding, we have a stronger presence here in U of H downtown, specifically for the reasons I talked about earlier of the huge Hispanic population here in the school. And so definitely to community relations, working with nonprofit organizations to create that pipeline and increase awareness of all the great opportunities we have at Centerpoint. This is a great time, especially in corporate America. There's so much opportunity out there. So I encourage you to reach out, everything from the lower levels all the way to senior leadership levels. This is a great time and opportunity, to find an area to focus on. And so definitely proud of that. We have still a lot more work to do, but just really proud of what we've done so far. And we definitely need more Latinos and Latinas. I would say I'm 2 out of 2 Latinas in operative positions at CenterPoint. That needs to change, and changes across, really every company, not only the energy industry, but just industries across. And so, you're interested in a career in corporate America, there's a lot of opportunity out there. Please reach out. Always recruiting, would like to mentor, anything that I can do to kind of give back to younger Latinas, something I wish I would have had when I was younger, but really just reach out, ask for help, ask for advice, because I would love to see more Latinas in leadership roles in corporate America.
I love that. So this is how we do this. Everybody watch. Said, Bertha, I love what you're doing, and I know somebody that will be a great connection for you. You need to meet Dr. Christine over here. She's the assistant dean for the Maryland Davies College of Business, and I am sure she can help you achieve some of those DE and I initiatives. Yeah. That's how you do it. Right? Yeah. Because I didn't gain anything from that except that I put 2 powerful Latinas together. They can lift each other up. And what we said before, juntas somos mejor, right? So there you go. All right, you see each other? All right. Okay, we'll make it happen. So I'm going to come back over to Luz Helena, because Luz Helena, you are working in a very dynamic and very male-dominant industry. What's interesting is the question about what are you focused on for the future, and how is that going to help your business and help you grow?
Wow, that's a very good, challenging question. So yes, you're right. I am in a male dominant to the point that I don't like to use the woman card, the race card. I don't like to use that, but it's my experience. So I would go to banks and ask them for loans, and they would not even ask me, what is your business in? They would just say, what's your credit score? 680. Well, you know what? Get it to 720 and above and come talk to us. But I think that was a way of pushing me away. And so I had to deal with a lot of even hiring men. When you hire men, they look at you like, oh, you're just gonna tell me what to do. You apply for the job, yes. So those are things that I've felt that I've encountered a lot of. And so you just gotta learn how to understand that you have to come across as someone that knows the industry, not someone that's being bossy, but that you do know the industry, and that you're providing partnerships. So I'm in the space of medical transportation for day surgeries, and I'm competing. I wouldn't say compete, because Uber and Lyft have reached out to me already and asked me, hey, what are you doing over there? And I'm like, what are you doing over there? No, but that and I'm in technology. Now we're developing, and we should be done by now because it's been 2 years, an app. So I am competing now in the space of Uber. And I'm Latina and I'm a woman. And I'm 100%, thank you, I'm 100% owner. So when I walk up to someone, they're like, okay, where's the partners? Or who's funding you? I funded myself, because when the bank said no, I had no choice. So the way that, in 2016, I was at the Goldman Sachs, and Warren Buffett was speaking, and he said, if you reach the $1 million, stand up. And I stood up. And he said, and there was just a few of us, and he said, give yourself a round of applause, because reaching your first $1 million is incredible. Now go to the next 2 million, 3 million, 4 million. I was featured on Forbes. I was evaluated at 10 million. And I don't have debt. So I don't owe the bank money. The question is, how did you do it, right? Everybody asks, how did you do that? I mean, like, really? Did you inherit money? Remember I told you no, because my family was broke? No. But let me tell you what happened to me, the truth of what happened to me. When COVID hit, the government was giving money. Remember the money? So everybody qualified and everybody applied. So that was the only way I got money. I had my Zoom, because back then we had to do everything in Zoom, right? I was in every meeting, Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, every meeting I could be to listen to what's gonna happen to businesses. And so when they said that the money was available, my own bank, which is a huge bank, didn't even give me the loan. And they didn't give me the loan, and I'm like, not even this time? Like, I mean, you say no to me, and this time, even with me qualifying, I didn't get it. So I had to get it through Stanford. I went through Goldman Sachs, and I went to Stanford as well, and Stanford were the ones who said, you know what, we're gonna help you, go through PayPal. So when I went through PayPal, in 3 days I had money. That little bit of money, I right away, because you know how you write, you always talk about vision board. You write your vision and your intentions and everything. I had it ready, I just didn't have the capital. So finally I got the capital and I moved quickly with it. And that's how I grew 970%. I grew 970%. We are national. I have over 3,000 employees. So yeah, and I fly everywhere and I talk to people and they always say, well, they think it's luck. It's not really luck, it's that your intentions are there. Yeah. You have everything written down. You believe in yourself, because self-doubt happens. But when that happens, I quickly go back and I think about everything everything I already went through. And that motivates me to say, wow, I come a long ways, because sometimes we wake up and we're like, I can't do this. I don't feel it today. I'm not feeling like myself, especially when you have children. When I started my business, I have 3 kids that everybody says, are they triplets? Because it was one after the other. As soon as I would have a child, I would put a girdle, faja, cover yourself, because you know you're going to. So I would go out there and I would hunt for business. And then I would have my baby, and here comes I'm pregnant again, and do it again. And my mom used to say, Mija, kids after kids after kids, are you okay? What's going on? Is your marriage is very happy, right? You have a good marriage. Mothers, right? But I did that, and so I used to remember at 5 o'clock in the morning, I would get up and I would be like in the car, and I would be like, I gotta go out here. I don't know exactly where I'm gonna go, but I'm gonna visit hospitals, and I'm just gonna go. I used one time, let me tell you what happened, true story. I was told to get out of the premises, and I was dressed up. And I was like, why? And she said, well, because you're soliciting. And I said, no, I just want to know who's over the department of blah, blah, blah. No, ma'am, you need an appointment for that. And I said, I understand, but I'm asking who is over this so that I can make an appointment. Yeah. No, because you know why? They see a young Latina, this was years, they see a young Latina, and they're like wondering why, who is she? And that's the problem with women sometimes. We don't help each other. Instead, we push each other back. And I'm gonna keep it real. It's happened to me. So I stay to myself a lot. Yvette has been trying to hunt me for years, like, when are we gonna get together? When are we gonna get together? So one day I invited her to the Bad Bunny concert at the suite at Toyota Center.
Yes, I went to go
That
see
story.
Bad Bunny.
Let me tell you, true story, because I own the suite at the Toyota Center. And I said, you know what? I just got the Toyota Center. I don't know a lot of people, because I always say to myself, so ¿a quién invito? Who do I invite? So I remember Yvette. Yvette jumped on board and I said, she loves Bad Bunny? And she got there and she said, girl, if this is what it takes to talk to you, I'm here. I just invited her. She goes, no, I've been trying to talk to you. You're too busy. And I had no idea that, and she was like, I'm not Bad Bunny. I'm leaving. I got to go home. It's past my bedtime. But this is how she got me here, guys. This is how she got me here. And so, where was I? I forgot. But that's the point. You have to continue. And so I'm in the space where my goal is to be the Uber nurses, because we transport with nurses. So, technology is Uber. That's what they're known for. So I do it a little different. I have the combination of technology with building a community, with being trust, because a lot of women and even men, they have to have a day surgery and they don't have anybody to take them, or they want to keep it private. Hey, I'm getting liposuction. Nobody needs to know. You know what I'm saying? So who's going to take me? So nobody finds out. If you see me on Facebook, it's a whole different story. Yeah. But I don't want nobody to know when I'm getting this surgery. So this is who we are. This is what we do. And we're in Houston, Texas. So we want to make sure that Houston is recognized. Once we are, the brand is even more powerful. We want to make sure that it's a Latina behind it. Technology, Uber and Lyft are going to just be applauded because, they do all this. But it's actually a Latina behind this 100%.
Okay, I love it. Love it. All right, ladies. Is that disruptive? Is that being disruptive? She's showing people how to do things in a different way, right? Not just the Latina way, the Lucelena way, okay? Yeah. I love it. I love it. Now you know why she's my family's friend, right? So, Yvonne, I hate to do this to
I can't go behind that. I'm sorry.
I'm just gonna come to you. I mean, I know you had a chance to think about it. But what do you focus on, and what's going to help you grow your business, especially in this world of, everybody wants to be like Yvonne?
No, I don't think so. I think I'm focused on still connecting the dots, right? And in my space, for me, what I do in Houston, it's very underrepresented. And I think that's what I'm trying to do is get brands to notice us, to spend money here, because we spend a lot of money on them. And so that's my focus, is growing the summit and traveling with the summit, but also, just growing myself as a brand. So that's really, I'm very basic, actually.
You're not. No, you're not.
But I'm like Lucelena, like I'm super picky about where I go also. I'm like, oh, Yvette, I know, same thing. Like I'm just very picky about where I spend my time because of the energy that's out there sometimes. So yeah, I'm just very much focused on the summit.
Well, along those lines, what's a non-negotiable for you?
Something that I don't believe in, something that I don't use, something that I don't wear, something that I just have to be like a consumer of it or a thoughtful thinker of it as well. Yeah.
You got to be part of it. I guess we need to be a little bit more non-negotiable too, right?
Yeah, it's okay to say no. I've said no to a lot of things, but I've had so many yeses behind the rest that I think that it's okay to say no to something that you don't believe in, because that right thing will come to you.
Right. So it's choosing what's right for you. And Bertha, I'm going to come over to you. What's a non-negotiable for you as a professional and as a leader?
Yeah, so I'm actually, we do have 5 core values at our, at Centerpoint, and so those are definitely aligned exactly with my values, and they include, safety, integrity, everything we do. We need to make sure that it's with the highest ethical standards. Can you hear me? Respect. I think that's key and critical when we do business, that we respect each other, we respect our customers, we respect our employees, we respect, everybody, our colleagues, everyone, and then we have, a couple other values, which are initiative and accountability. And safety, that's key and critical to our business. We want to make sure our employees go home safe to their families every day, because some of what our field employees do is very, it's dangerous, but we don't cut corners, and that just really speaks to who I am as well, and just in alignment with really the company that I work for, and these are really non-negotiables. Yeah. These are 5 core values, and everything we do day in, day out have to be aligned with those 5 values.
Yeah. And are those your same values too?
Absolutely.
Because see that if your values are aligned with your company's values, whether you're an entrepreneur or a corporate, it has more significance in our lives. Sure. All right, I appreciate that. Thank you. Lucelena, so tell me, what's a non-negotiable for someone like you in your business?
Okay, well, I think that core values are important. I don't have any contracts, believe it or not. A lot of our business comes from, you guys, national. So we don't have contracts, but what that means is that we have a big responsibility, because when someone hands us over an American Express, they expect top-notch VIP. Mm-hmm. But with that top-notch, also, some of them come a little bit more, I hate to say the word, but racist. So when someone comes across racist, whether you're a client, it's non-negotiable to me. You're not going to treat an employee wrong. You're not going to treat a driver less because they're driving you, or a nurse because it's not going to happen. So those core values are important to me, because respect. If I feel like this, if you're going to pick me up, how would I treat you? How would you treat me? Yeah. And I want that across everywhere. So once a week, I have team meetings with my team. And I always talk to them. We know the business, we know our goals, but I always try to connect with them and remember that they are valuable, that they're working for a company that makes a difference. So I always try to tell my employees, do you know that you don't know the person who's calling you, what their needs are? Remember, that could be you, that could be your aunt, that could be your mom, that could be your dad. So those core values are important because they align with myself of what I would do and not do. So if anybody comes and even hands me over money or a big check and it doesn't align with me, it's not gonna be okay with me.
I love it. I love it. And you know, I think one of the things is that we have to know what our non-negotiables are, because there's a place where you're just not going to cross that line. But I think sometimes we allow others to draw that line for us. So as I mentioned earlier, I left corporate America in 2004 and I started my own consulting firm. And about a year and a half later, I decided that I was going to start my second business. And I started a line of Latina-inspired stationery called Yo Soy Expressions. And the reason I did that is because I got tired of going to retail stores and not finding bilingual stationery. Have you had that experience? And if it's in Spanish, it's Dios te quiera y te ayude, and you know, it's some kind of spiritual meaning, and you're like, this is just my friend at work, right? So I created a line of stationery, and I launched it, but I had to print it. And I don't know about you, outside of going to the local drugstore, I didn't know anything about paper goods or anything like that. I just bought my card and I just, you know, okay, 1, 2, 3, take the one I want, put the rest of them in the shelf, and you leave, right? But I had to really get educated in that industry. And I was living in Florida at the time, and someone told me that there was a printer down about maybe 2 hours away. So I made an appointment with him, and I was super excited because I illustrated all of them. I created every poem, every saying on it. It was designed by me, you know, and I wanted to put it on paper. And I went down and met with this man, and he got up and he drank his coffee. And I'm so excited because I drove 2 hours to get there. I'm sitting there putting all the cards on and showing him the design, and he gets up and he sips his coffee and he says to me, I'm not gonna do this. He says, Latinas don't buy cards. And he sipped his coffee. And I looked at him, got my feelings hurt, started picking up all my papers, started putting them in my bag. He goes, where are you going? And I said, see, you have this all wrong. I didn't come here to ask for your permission. I came here to write you a check. All right? So let's not get this twisted. And now I grabbed myself and I walked outside, and I ugly cried for the next 2 hours all the way home because my feelings were hurt. But I didn't let his no stop me from dreaming. And I think that's sometimes something that we negotiate way too long. The things that we want for ourselves, and we let others set those kind of boundaries for us. So let me just kind of speed forward with that story. So that was in 2008. In 2009, I got asked to participate with the National Latina magazine, the largest in the country. They do 8 events a year. They not only asked me to be a speaker, but they asked me to come to every city for the next 3 years. So I visited the next 3 years, 28 markets where I showed Latinas all over this country the stationery. Through that, I made a relationship with someone at Walmart who made another connection for me. She sits on the board of Walmart, a women's initiative, a women's council. I got an appointment. Walmart says we like it, but scalability. They said, you know what, let's get Hallmark in. Walmart called Hallmark. Hallmark called this guy that's in Long Island somewhere and says, we have a brand that we want you to work with. Long and short of it, not only did I get an appointment with Walmart, not only did I get an appointment with Hallmark, I found someone who can produce my product for me, right? And I'm on the royalty end of that product now. They distribute it, they print it, and I just get a check every quarter. Now, if I would have listened to that man in 2008, I can tell you that story. But see, I didn't get stuck on his no. The other thing, too, is by creating that contact with those 2 retailers, it connected me to Target, who I got to make their Christmas, their first ever bilingual Christmas card series for 2 years in a row. I got to do that. So, an idea didn't stop because that idea and a desire that I had, much like all of you, got me on store shelves around this country in 25 largest Hispanic markets in this country. So even as little as your dream can be, it can become something more. So if you like, yosoyexpressions.com. But I'm saying that to you is because for years I took things that I love, and those quiet moments I drew, I wrote poems, and now not only are things out there in Spanish, but they're in bilingual. And to me, it's just part of this purpose. But illustrating to all of you that nothing is too small that cannot become a $10 billion company that helps you run a major corporation in the 4th largest city in the country and lets you influence people globally. So, you know, I told you this was going to be powerful, right? Yeah. Right? So let's continue with our questions, all right? Because, you know, let's not get it twisted. It's not always about me, okay? I know you think it's about me, but it's not. All right, so I'm going to come back, and I'm going to start with Yvonne with Yvonne on this one. When in your journey did you decide it was time to take risk and be disruptive?
I think for me, I had a similar situation where I was working in TV and someone says that I should change my name and not use spoiled Latina because Latinas aren't spoiled. And spoiled wasn't for me, I understand the word and what it could mean. And so that's one of my biggest challenges has always been is trying to let people know that I'm not spoiled, I just take care of myself, you know? And I think as women, we deserve that, especially in the Latina community. My mom is always the last one. My grandma was the last one to sit down. You know, we do everything for others, and then we eat the last piece of chicken, and it's like, why? I made this papas and everything, and I only got a piece of chicken. Anyway, that's not really, but it's more like, let's self-care, right? And so I think that was when a man told me that he was Latino and he said that Latinas shouldn't spoil themselves, that's when I quit. I didn't show up the next day to this TV show. And it grew, and I grew, and I wanted to make a mission to let people know, like, Latinas should spoil themselves. They should take care of themselves. It's all about self-care. If we can't take care of someone else, if we can't take care of ourselves, it's hard to take care of others. So, and then also when in 2015, I was working with a brand, and I've always had, I had a mentor who told me whichever brand that you work for or whichever company you work for, just make sure that you're building those connections so that when you do leave or you're doing something else, you always know someone, you built that connection. And so in 2015, I received a city proclamation here in town. So it's Yvonne Guidry Day, July 9th, 2015. But I decided to create an event out of it, which is now Spoiled Latina Day and turned into Spoiled Latina Summit. And that's really, I would travel to New York, Miami, LA, and I would go to these conferences and try to learn the business. And then I would say, well, we're in the 4th largest city. Why aren't these brands coming here? Like, we are popping over here. And I know that we can make a difference. So that's what I did. My very first year after that in 2016 to celebrate the 1-year anniversary, I did a small event. It sold out. 75 people were there. Sold out. 75 people were there, but it sold out. And I had...
Technically.
Okay. And I had a major brand. I had All laundry detergent was my brand. They gave me some money. They sent bottles of All, so everybody walked out of after being spoiled. It's like, let's go wash. But it connected with with what I was doing, and so Latina Magazine was part of it. So that's really when I was not having something for us Latinas to go to have fun, to mix, mingle, network, grow, build, exchange money. Like, that's my thing. And I really wanted that for Houston. And so I've been able to do that. I'm on my 8th year. It started as a day with just a couple of hours, and now it's a 2-day summit in July. And so I do it every year, and I am gonna continue to be disruptive, continue to do things my way, and work with brands that align with my values. So.
And what's interesting is, so I know we're in a room full of Latinas, and all of a sudden you hear your mother in your head, cállate la boca, no digas eso, don't talk about it, right? So, because, we're always taught to be humble. But I just want to share with you that everyone here is talking about themselves, and we've all struggled with that, right? That self-doubt. and stuff. So I know I'm gonna throw this at Luzalena first. It's like, so do you, with, you know, you have this amazing energy and you're so focused, but cuando hay duda, when is there doubt? Do you feel it?
Yeah, all the time, all the time. Because to me, every time you go up a level higher, it requires you to change your mindset. It requires you to be a different person, right? You can't be the same. So I'm not the same I was a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, and that's okay. The problem is that the surroundings might stay the same. And so when they stay the same and you're trying to grow, now you're looked at the outcast, or you're the conceited one, or you are too much, or you don't have time. And I struggle with that because I wanted to be liked. You want to be liked, especially like Yvonne. I mean, if you're out there in social media, you don't want, she might not care who might not like her, but in reality, we're still human beings, and it hurts our feelings, right? And so you wake up and you ask yourself, what am I going to do about this? And so to me, is you have to make a conscious decision, Yvette. You have to make a conscious decision that you're going to do something that is going to align you with where you're going, regardless of whose feelings you hurt, including your family.
And your mother.
Y tu mamá. Because your moms have access to you. I can stop a friend. I can stop a cousin. I'm not going, but you can't stop your mom. Your mom has access to you.
Yeah.
Well, not right now, because I lost my phone this morning. True story. I lost my phone this morning, and I'm like, is this a test? And I'm thinking, it is a test because I don't know how to disconnect from my business. So to me, today is a test to see if the business survives without me. And I think it is. But back to the self-doubt. So every level that you go to, you have to remember that if you want to go to a higher level, are you okay with changing your mindset and creating boundaries and saying no and not apologizing for that?
I love that. Hello.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know if you've been to any of my sessions, but if you've heard this before from me, please forgive me. But I'm always saying, if you say yes to someone else, you're saying no to you.
Yeah.
So every time you keep giving up your time and giving into others, you're losing momentum for yourself. And it's okay to be a little selfish, because if you're better, everything's better, right? So you've heard this too. If La Reina's happy, everybody's happy, okay? Remember that. So I appreciate that. Bertha, let's jump over to you. Cuando hay duda? When is there doubt?
Yeah, all the time, as we talked about it, the higher you move up, the expectations grow. And then when you actually work in an industry where it's dominated by men, we have, Latinas or women just tend to be more humble, tend to have self-doubt all the time, versus typically men are just like, I can do whatever, just put me there and we'll make it happen. So, all the time, but the way I deal with it is, one, I think about everything that I've accomplished. I am my biggest critic, and so I have to go back, be very intentional about thinking about everything that I've done, where I come from, all the challenges that I've had to overcome. And then I'm very selective of who I surround myself with. I surround myself with very positive people that believe in me, that pick me up, that think that push me, and that I have 12 kids. So I have my son and then my nephews and nieces and my family. Not 12.
Girl,
they're like 12.
You look great.
It feels like.
I'm like, you must have took the service over there.
Yeah, we gotta get you some cable, girl. So I'm very selective of how I spend my time. I work a lot, but when I'm not working, I'm around the best people that I can be with, which is my family, my mom, my dad, my two brothers, my two sisters, and my little crazy nephews and nieces who I love, and I know they look up to me, and so I want to be a role model to them. So I look at the things that motivate me. But again, be very thoughtful in who you are around. It's very easy to go down a negative path. I've seen people take a turn during their careers because it's just a situation, and instead of seeing it as a challenge, something to kind of overcome, they kind of went down a different path. And so just be very thoughtful, be very mindful of who you are around. Look for informal mentors, people that will pick you up and will encourage you regardless of the situation. So that's how I deal with it in corporate America.
Corporate America, awesome. Well, let me just ask. We have just a few more moments with our panel. So haven't they been great? Absolutely. So we have students here from the university. They're doing various different studies. They're starting out in their career. Some already in their careers and have come back to school. But we also have a lot of different professionals here. What piece of advice would you give them to continue growing either in their career path or in their future business? So, Lucelena, we're going to start with you.
Not a lot of people agree with this, and that's okay. Before I became, and I never say that I'm successful. I'm always in a journey to find success because it's about the journey. Yep. So before I became who I am today, I had a radio program who I just happened to get into because they were calling me and I got good at it, and I just ended up, having my own radio show. I also had a nonprofit where I met a lot of people. I was getting invitations left and right, but in reality, I was broke. Why? Because I was gaining momentum with popularity, with come over here, come over there. And what I mean by broke, I'm not saying broke, but I'm talking about not where I'm at today. And so what I did and what I advise people to do is stick to one thing and master it. When you want to be everywhere and when you want to do everything, it's like grabbing water. And I have plants here, and I have only this to water. And if I water here, water there, one of my plants is gonna maybe not grow like I want it to grow. But if I remove the other plants and I stick with one plant and I take care of it and I focus on that one and I master it, now I become unstoppable.
Eso.
So you have to become unstoppable. And the thing about it is it's so difficult to say no to a project, to an opportunity, to someone you don't want to let down. But to me, I honestly removed the radio because everybody's like, that's a lady from the Univision. I'm not a journalist. I never, was. I just used it for marketing, and it took me so far. And that's how she came as an author, because she's an author. She came to my radio program. No, this woman right here, we're powerful, but this is the real deal right here. I mean,
it's the sequence.
And the polka dot.
And the polka dot. But that's how I met this beautiful author. I brought her to my radio program, and energy was dynamic. And the nonprofit, I was getting involved with the Houston Rockets. But at the end of the day, I'm a philanthropist by corazon. I'm a philanthropist. So my husband told me one time, he said, if you're going to be a philanthropist, how are you going to help the rest of the world? I said, well, I connect and I do this and I go here and people know me. He said, well, to be a philanthropist and to really make a change, se necesita money. Yeah. You need money. And so I said, that's true. And he goes, well, focus on that maybe. And so when I did that, I'm at the point now that maybe I don't do a lot with my nonprofit as far as visual. You don't see it a lot. But when it comes to contribution, now I can make a difference. So I only was able to make a difference, a major difference, because money definitely is powerful. It's the truth. With money, you make choices and you have freedom, right? So with money, you make better choices in what school you want to send your kids to. What kind of vacation can you deserve now? How do you bring everybody together? My mother always says, my mother doesn't work. And when they ask her, you don't work? So how do you pay the bills? She goes, I live off the government. And she points at me. She always says that, yo vivo del gobierno, ahí está. I live off the government. So I'm only able to do that because I focus on one thing. So if I could give an advice, Yvette, write down, I write down every Friday, I write down what I'm going to do for the next week. And even if I don't reach it, I write down a second day for the next week until I accomplish those. But write down what's the most important thing to you. What is that biggest thing that you want to accomplish, that biggest goal? Write 10 of them. Write 10 of them, and out of those 10, what is the number one that you can feel like you can accomplish the rest of them? That's the one you need to focus on. But if you're here, there, to me, it didn't work. I know it didn't work. It doesn't work for me. I focus on one thing and I master it. So you want to be an educator in your field. You want to be an expert in your field. You want to be looked at as the professional one in the field. In order to do that for me, I had to focus on that one thing for me.
I love it. And Bertha and Yvonne, I would love to ask you that same question, some advice, but unfortunately we're running a little time. So please give, but I'm just asked for your answer to be a little short. Appreciate it.
Honestly, I just want to bounce off of what she said. It's mastering. I think for me, my niche was the Latina consumer, and that's what I stuck with. I found also that there was no representation in the sneaker world for Latinas, so I created Latinas Love Sneakers, and that's where I was able to connect with different brands on the sneaker world. So yeah, just stick to that one thing. Obviously, you can definitely try different things, but once you find your niche, I think stick with that, and then it'll grow.
I love it.
Yeah.
Bertha.
Yeah, so I'll just definitely echo, stay focused, be very intentional about every step you take to get to your end goal. So think about what your goal is. And I'll just throw in a piece from a corporate standpoint. If you aspire to be a leader one day in corporate America, one thing that's very key and critical to your growth and success is feedback, to be open to feedback. It's not so much of the feedback that you get, but it's what you do with it. And so just adjusting and listening to that. I've had my share of feedback throughout the years. It hasn't been all great, but it's really more of how you adjust and how you become a better leader or a better colleague over time. So that's my advice.
I love it. So over here we have stay focused. We also have is find your niche, all right? Leverage it, and then feedback. And I'm going to give you my last piece of advice, the power of ask. We talk about this all the time. We think we're Wonder Woman, right? We think we're Superwoman, but the reality of it is we all need a little help. So don't be afraid to ask for help, and let people know that you can't do it by yourself, because at the end of the day, they gain something by helping you as well. So ladies, I just want to thank you. I can't say how much I've taken out of this, but I want to just tell you how wonderful it is to hear the inspiration that you are. And remember, you've heard me say it before, greatness is inspiring others to be their best. And I think here, everyone feels that. So ladies, thank these wonderful panelists. So before we cut out, just kind of want to tell you what's ahead. We are now going to move this group over, or are going to ask you to join us across the hall in the lunch area, where we are going to have a wonderful lunch hosted by our friends at Goya Care. But one thing that I want you to know is we're going to be there from 12 to 2. You're going to join us for lunch, but we also have our scholarship recipients will receive their scholarships today, and then also our community awards. And then after our lunch, we'll be back here to hear our phenomenal fireside chat with Ana Alvarado from Texas Capital Bank, and then the amazing and powerful CEO of Possible Visions, Paula Mendoza. At 3 o'clock, we will end here, and we will have La Tiendita outside with some mock cocktails again, hosted by our friends at Goya Care. But one thing I want you to know is, as a nonprofit, we're always looking for opportunity to gain access to other programming, and it comes with donations. So one of the things we have at lunchtime is our raffle. There is a scan on your table that will allow you to go straight to PayPal and purchase those. We have a table. And Jackie, do you mind standing up? Where you see this lady is where the raffle is going to be, okay? All right? We love you to partake. We've got some wonderful prizes for you. But I just want to thank not only this panel, but all the panelists from earlier on, our first panel and our second panel. Some of them are still here. So can we give them all a round of applause? Okay. So with that said, we'll see you across the hall in just a few minutes. Thank you.